State Line Dolphins with John and Jimmy, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Nowadays, because we've seen young guys have some success, if you're not successful in year 1 or 2, now if you get put in a bad situation, it may end your freaking career.
Well, everybody's on the clock right away now. Just look at the Miami Dolphins. I mean, you know, Mike McDaniel, congratulations. You're the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. In 3 years, you're going to be gone. Just look at the last 12 to 15 years of Miami Dolphin head coaches. In your third year, you got to start, calling for boxes at Home Depot. and where's my next job going to be? Because that's the reality of the lack of patience in the National Football League.
Everybody that moves to Florida that plays any kind of sports probably became obsessed with golf.
Oh, yeah, for a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
And then you realize you suck.
Yeah, that's a problem. It's like gambling. Like if you win right away, you assume it's going to be easy, and then you don't win the next times.
It was a $74 exacta hit that I split 3 ways with my 2 friends that I was with at Roosevelt Raceway that doomed me. That was it. Although, see, I can't say that. This was in my DNA. If you're a degenerate, is it not part? It doesn't have to run in your family, but it is part of your emotional DNA. I mean, what drives you to, just a complete life of self-sabotage by spending your life gambling?
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
On a beautiful Thursday morning, good morning, everybody. Great to be with you. The Defo Show here. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz on Jack Namer's fine organization and just outstanding platform. On channel. You can Google the Defo Show and find us. More people are picking us up on the audio stream. Maybe you're driving around. You can't watch the video stream on your phone because you would have to think at least somewhat compromising to your ability to keep your eyes on the road.
It's not safe.
Although, yeah, I mean, how many times you drive by somebody and they're like this, and you're thinking, look up, look up.
Please.
I remember when I took driver's ed in high school, they had this thing called the simulator. Did you use any of those simulators?
Yep.
Where no matter what possibly could go wrong, it did go wrong in the simulator. In other words, if you were driving and then a ball rolled out in between 2 cars, which, this was mostly like New York City type of stuff, or I guess it applies to suburban life also. There was always a little kid right behind it chasing the ball into the street. So if you ignored the fact that the ball was rolling out there and said, hey, look at that, a basketball, boom, you were going to mow down some little kid, which would have been awful. But, that was always, always good. People aren't driving so much anymore because price of gasoline, I guess, is knocking people for a loop.
Not with gas. It's scary. It goes up 30 to 40 cents a day. I know there's things going on, and that's fine, but dang.
While you're at the pump, they're changing the prices, right?
Yes.
Right? You thought you were paying $4.09, and then all of a sudden you're paying $5.09, and you're thinking, how did that happen? But I should be part of the nation's economists who are, trying to help people get through this whole thing, because my suggestion drew a lot of attention. On Facebook, which was just make it easy on people and list the gas prices by the half gallon. And don't specify that on the sign, so all of a sudden you pull into the station and you think you're paying $2.50 and you don't complain so much. And a lot of people don't even do the math, right? When they get to the end of the tank and they fill it up, they go, hey, look at that, $2.50 a gallon I paid. It was only $70 to fill my 15-gallon tank. You're like, all right, as long as you feel good about it. I mean, it's all in your perception, is it not, people? I wouldn't get too much in a twist, although, as I have told people many times now, and it happens to be, I think it's pretty close to the truth, in doing the 4-mile walk of life every day, no matter what conditions are outside or internally here, physically, I don't care what it is, I'm going at some point in the day. So what's that? That's 28 miles a week. It's actually a little over 4 miles. So if you factor in, I'm walking maybe 30 miles a week, and I don't know that I'm driving 30 miles a week anymore. So, that's a good thing. Nonetheless, it seems to be skyrocketing out of control. It doesn't seem to have any kind of a stop to it, and it's creating all kinds of panic with the trickle-down effect on the economy. And we are in a long-haul, big, hard-to-straighten-out mess, is what it looks like. Is it all on Putin? What are we going to do? Is it all on Putin?
Companies. I think first of all, we're not feeling, me and I talked about this yesterday, we're not feeling the effects yet of Russia. Like, they're just jacking the prices up because they can. Because anytime anything happens in the news that other companies like, oh, we can use that. Oh, it's a weekend, holiday weekend. Holiday weekend. Who travels anywhere on holiday weekends anymore? Like that's not a thing. But they use
No.
it every time. Or the winter. The winter doesn't affect South Florida.
Summer travel, it's going to pick up. Yeah.
Like that's just them pulling a move, and that's what's annoying about this. And people bitching about the president. Don't bitch about the president. It's every country right now. It's not the leaders. It's the oil companies, which are making massive record earnings, taking advantage of the system, which is bullshit.
Yeah, really, just absolutely ridiculous. It would be impossible. You're absolutely correct for whatever Russian oil embargoes we have going on right now
They don't affect anything
to
yet.
have impacted gas prices to the point where they doubled and tripled in some cases over the last couple of weeks. But anyway, you know what? We're not here to discuss the economy. We're just hoping to make enough money so that we can survive.
Well, that's the
Keep this thing going here on Ion Channel. Now, one of the reasons that we are able to survive is the great support we get from Hialeah Park, and we will play a mini version of the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge today.
Yes, sir.
Dave Gergle's Gergely detained at some golf obligation that he has.
They do a lot of
he's-
tournaments. I never realized with this many tournaments at the former Don Shula's country club.
Yeah. What is it called now? The Miami Lakes Golf Club. Miami Lakes Golf Club.
Yes.
It's a nice little track, by the way. I used to play that. It was one of my courses of preference. And they had that discount card, and I forget the name of the guy. He was a legendary golf. I think his last name might have been DeLuca. He was a legendary golf guy, and he was based mostly in Miami. At I don't know what the name of the course was, but it's the place where they found there was radioactive activity underneath it, where they wanted to build a soccer stadium. And it was like Miami Country Club or something. I forget the name of the course, but I used to go down there and play quite a bit because they had the discount card. Remember that? Were you a golfer at any time, Lubie? Where you got that discount card?
I never did that. That sounds interesting, though.
Well, I mean, it was a good thing because, you could go play any number of courses. There were probably, I don't know, 20, 25 courses that were listed on the card that you could go and play for like 15, 20 bucks back when greens fees were. And I think you just played for the cart. The greens fees might have even been free. So you were paying like 20 bucks to play a round of golf that otherwise would have cost you $50 to $60 in those days. And so it was great. And the Don Shula's golf course was part of that whole scene there. So, we played that quite frequently. Nice little course there. That second hole is the one that everybody likes, where they have the slightly elevated tee, and it's a short hole. So you can almost drive the green, even if you're a lousy short hitter. And you definitely have a shot. Maybe. I don't know if people are driving a green there in number 2 at the now Miami Lakes Golf Club. But a great hole. And then, I think Gergle's was positioned. They have a very short par 3 there. That's on the back 9, and that would be probably where Gergles does his beat the broadcaster thing, where you're trying to. He says he finds the shortest par 3, which I mean, par 3s that are over 200 yards should not be par 3, should they? Not on any kind of course where amateurs and duffers and hackers like me and you might be playing 200 yards plus on a par 3. Come on, Lubie. You don't have to take driver out to hit a par 3, do you?
You're not supposed to.
No, well, you're not supposed to drive the ball only 200 yards either. But nobody can hit like any iron below like a 5 iron. Very difficult to navigate, is it not? Any iron below. I mean, could you hit a 2 iron? No. Could you hit a 3 iron? No. Oh, Johnny Lapanzina, very good, man. Mike Clancy watching the show. My good friend Mike Clancy. What was the name of the course, Mike? Pop that up there. He's with us on the chat line. It was the premier card, and it was a great, great thing. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. That's what I love about this show with the audio and video stream, and Lubie, is that we're getting input for the stuff that I'm blanking on from the audience. So it's kind of like a fill in the blanks. It should be called the Defo Show, Fill in the Blanks. All right, we have a blank here. This one came from, and I was alerted to this by the great Jim Sarney, also a big fan of the show. And, that's kind of a compliment for me because Sarney was at one time the media critic for the Sun Sentinel among the many hats that he wore there. And he covered a lot of different things. And he was a very fair media critic. And they used to write a lot about, there was more to write about back then because you had more local shows.
Yeah, so that's the
whereas
thing.
now, I think you were saying on the local radio there might be like 3 shows.
I think there's 4 total, and it might actually be 3. It's just one is simulcasted, and I may be kind of counting that twice. I think
you're counting that twice. Yeah, I mean, you literally have, and there are as many if you count Palm Beach, the Palm Beach market. which is a tri-county thing here in South Florida. If you're not familiar with the geography, you have like Dade County, Miami, Broward County, which is Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach County, which obviously is Palm Beach. And you have newspapers in each of those areas. They all have their own separate newspaper, although that may be a thing of the past very soon. And there are probably a total, I guess at one time, there might have been 6 all sports radio stations. Can you imagine? I want to say 6, maybe even 7.
Oh, wow.
And now that there are at least 3 that we know of that go all sports all day long in the 2 counties, the 2 main counties here, Dade and Broward. And between the 3 radio stations, they have a total. I want to say it's only three local shows. I think it's only 3.
One has a morning, and then they have the midday, and then they have the afternoon.
There's no midday. They got morning drive, afternoon drive. Midday is all network stuff.
Oh, Zaslow still does something, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, so there's 4 local shows. That's it.
They have 3. One station's trying to still be local. Good for them.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I think, has a morning, and then that's all they have.
Well, and it's interesting because, you talk about the death of the industry. Is it because people aren't interested in listening anymore, or they have nothing to listen to? That's part of it also, right?
People are in. The listening world is more now, not less.
Yeah.
How many apps are there that stream audio? That's a radio. Like I talked to our former boss about this. Radio is not dying; it's moving. People listen to something. People listen more. Like I never used to listen in the bathroom or listen in the kitchen. Now, because there's so much to listen to, Shirley, whenever she's doing her makeup, listening to something. Whenever I'm in the kitchen, futzing with listening to something. So we're actually listening more, not less. Like that's a weird misnomer. Like nothing's dying.
And there are a lot more entities that you can listen to, including this one here, right on Channel Jack with the foresight long before there was even discussions. There were even discussions about the death of the radio industry. Jack was on top of this thing. He says, you know what, everybody's going to go to audio and video streaming. And so he opened up like a zillion channels, and here we are. It's absolutely great. But anyway, good to be with you here. We're going to do a little Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge on the program today. Gurgle's not able to make it. He has a previous engagement obligation, and he was only going to be able to come on for like the last 15 minutes of the show. So it really wouldn't work that way. So I'm going to play, and we were going to go King of the Hill on this and invite back the defending champion, Andy. But Andy's like catching a plane at 7:30. So, and you talk about a dedicated listener and a guy that really has the back of the show in mind. He says he would play anyway, even if they've already boarded the plane, as long as he was getting reception. But, I'm not going to put that onus on him to come through for us. I mean, it's not like, we couldn't find a couple of other players. So we'll have a head-to-head competition, 2 players today.
Actually calling in now.
For the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge.
Andy's like real deal businessman, so I guess he has the internet. He's watching our show and calling right now, just to be. That's how good a supporter he is. I'm gonna answer, but I'll let him know we don't need it.
We're going to get that going in a little while here because I thought I had a secret sleeper to win at least the first round of the NCAA tournament, win their first game outright, as what you would have to think would be a prohibitive and rather overwhelming underdog. Can you be an overwhelming underdog? Yes. I guess you can. It's over, it's under. I understand. I mean, I'm mixing up gambling vernacular here, but nonetheless, as just a huge underdog, I would think. I don't know how big of a dog they would have been. Iona, with Rick Pitino coaching, and they had a phenomenal season. They're in a weenie conference, so the conference is only going to get 1 bid. And they lose in the quarterfinals to Ryder. Jim Sarney alerted me to this, 71-70 to Ryder College. Iona knocked out of its conference tournament, which means they're done.
Like if they had made it to
Can you say NIT, Lubie? Can you say NIT?
To like the finals, and they were playing another team that's been borderline top 25 all year, then yes, sometimes conferences like that will get 2. But if you lose quarters, now, because that means 2 teams are going to be in the finals better than you. Like that sucks because that would have been a fun. He's the kind of guy that would get to the tourney and win a game or 2 just because of how good of a coach he is. That sucks that they just couldn't get there.
I mean, this was the sleeper of all sleepers, right? You're looking at Iona and you're looking over on the bench there. I bet a lot of people don't even know Rick Pitino is coaching there.
100%. What do you mean? I have the shirt because of Visser Mama.
Yeah.
And until you remind me every year, I forget. Like the last 2 years, I'm like, oh shoot, he is. We had him on as Iona coach, and I forgot that he's not.
Yes. And it's funny when he came on, he told us that he came very close to coaching at is it Transylvania University,
There was
which is not
something.
in Transylvania; it's in like Pennsylvania or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I thought, wow, I mean, what do you got? Like a bunch of vampires on the team? I mean, you talk about going out there and thirsting for blood. That would have been it. But he ended up at Iona, and he had connections there, and wherever Rick Pitino goes, he's going to be successful. And he started recruiting people, as we said, from parts unknown, and nobody could figure out where he was getting these guys from, and all above board, because there were always assertions that Pitino is doing something underhanded or against the grain of the protocols of whatever rules actually exist anymore. But no, he had assembled a very good team. I was knocked down by COVID last year, as many schools were. Had an excellent season going and gets knocked out in the quarterfinals. And there goes my first bet that I was going to make in Atlantic City when I got to the sports book there at the Borgata, which I think is going to be a rocking good time. And you're saying it's going to be just flush with young people
That's
that are
10.
banging away in these games. See, I don't know if that's the case in Atlantic City. Are
I don't
young
know
people
AC.
going to Atlantic City?
I don't know
Would
AC.
be.
I don't
It's mostly old Alta-cockers
know.
and would-be mafia guys, no?
Well, now with the apps too, you may not
See the
even
guy
have
with the
to
Mr.
go.
T starter kit over in the corner there, and he's got the pinky ring on, and they're always wearing an athletic suit,
Oh,
right? With
trust
the
for sure.
sweatshirt that zips up,
Yep, yep.
and it matches the pants, which they've been wearing the same pair of sweatpants for like the last 6 weeks. Hey, Joe, you're going to change those sweatpants? Same pair of sweatpants. I mean, you recognize it's the same crowd every time I go there to the race book. Same crowd over there in the corner. And, I don't necessarily want to step on any toes when I'm, stumbling my way to the self-betting machine. Yeah, no problem there, Vito. I didn't mean to step on your foot there. Oh, I smeared your new sneakers. Those guys are always wearing sneakers that look like they've never been worn before also. Like
Yes.
they certainly aren't going out playing any ball in these shoes.
No.
They have like they're as new looking as if they just came out of the box. Now people aren't getting a shoe shine on sneakers, are they? I mean,
Oh, no.
that's ridiculous. And the poor shoe shine guy, wow! I mean, you talk about another business that's dried up.
Yeah, who's
Where is
shooting
that guy
shots?
today? The shoe shine guy. Remember, he used to go down to the subway, and you'd actually consider, hey, why don't I get my shoes shined?
I do
And it was
remember.
a real luxury too. The track too had a shoe shine guy.
I was gonna say the track, bigger businesses, department stores. You'd see a shoe shine. I don't know the last time I see a shoe shine. Like I don't think that's an entity anymore. Like they have enough stuff for you to do it at your house. Like are people paying for someone to shine?
Shoes are disposable now. I mean, you wear them once, you throw them away. What are you talking about?
Not me.
That's the way it goes. Shoe shine guy, yeah, that's something that you won't see very frequently anymore. Although they're usually, in Atlantic City, there must be a stand somewhere where some guy is shining shoes. But and no one wears shoes, right? Everybody's wearing canvas shoes, Skechers. Even if they're not wearing sneakers per se, everybody's wearing something that would not require a shine. Let's go with that, Lubie. No shine required on these things. But the mafia guys over in the corner there at the Borgata, all wearing like sneakers that look like they just came out of the box. Very expensive ones too, right? And you're thinking, I can't even imagine that this guy. When was the last time this guy took a running step, except to chase down some stiff that was late on the juice? But the guys that are there aren't in that business anymore. They're just in the business of talking about it and acting like there's some mob meeting going on. Yeah, I got a sit down coming up with with Frankie. And he asked the guy what he's doing there. Anyway, it's going to be fun being in Atlantic City. I think. I mean, I don't know. Am I going to be jammed in there a bunch of, with a bunch of kids that are 22 and under that are all
The
pounding away
professor
on these
seems to
games?
think so. The professor seems to think so. I don't know exactly. I know in Vegas, that's the vibe I get. You're right. In AC, especially now with the apps, both New York and Jersey, like if you're younger, aren't you just going to do an app instead of going to AC? Like, so you probably
Well,
might-
and part of the fun would be to sit there, or stand there or whatever, hoist a few and watch all of these games. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we've been at racetracks when the opening day came. We were doing shows out at, remember, we were doing them at Gulfstream. And, you're there for the opening day, the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament. Very exciting if you can spot a team. So we're going to try and dive into some of that today. Your man, Blake Chadwick, who this kid's great.
he's great.
And really very authoritative on college basketball.
Yep.
It isn't fully set yet. So, I don't know how accurate he can be, but, he should be able to give us some teams to watch that, there are many that have already qualified, and maybe some of those upset specials are brewing already, even though we don't know exactly what the matchups are going to be. So Blake Chadwick will join us, try to get some insight into the tournament. That's 1 week away, actually 1 week away, Mike Lubie Lubitz,
Today.
which isn't bad. And then tomorrow on our Degenerate Friday show, a couple of real good college basketball experts going to join us. The professor, who is dynamite and actually has a winning lifetime record in terms of wagers made. So the professor gets very deeply into college hoops and really zeroes in on the tournament. And Mark Lawrence had a great season for us picking football games, and he's going to join us tomorrow. And he dives into it with all kinds of crazy minutia. And I would imagine he'll have many underdogs that we can play in the first round, the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. So a lot of NCAA conversation coming up as we prepare for Thursday's onslaught of games, which that is one of the great days, is it not, of sports television viewing?
Thursday? Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's the favorite. That's my favorite singular day in sports because literally it's all day long and every game matters. Like I can watch college football from 12 to 1 in the morning. I actually can, but the game, you will catch games that are like, eh. In the tournament, it's one and done. So every game is live and die. Like the first 2 days, even the first weekend there's nothing like that in all of sports.
Very exciting, and especially you know that there are going to be games that go the opposite way of public opinion because look at the history of the 5 versus 12 seeds in the NCAA tournament. It's not uncommon to see 3 of the 12 seeds win that particular game. 3 versus 14 is also kind of an interesting one. Where you have many upsets occurring there, and if you can get a line on a team, I haven't seen that yet though, Lubie. I haven't seen one of the weenie teams convince me that this team is going to be a very difficult out, even if they're facing like North Carolina in the first round of the tournament. Right, and that kind of makes the whole thing fascinating, and you always wonder like what individual player will emerge and be that kind of hero that puts the cape on and carries some team that was likely an impossible team to figure to go very far. And this, it was your man, Jimmer Fredette. That was a good call by you yesterday.
Yep.
Right. I mean, remember that? I mean, it was sensational, right? You're watching this guy. How can he go for 30 again? You got to be kidding me. But eventually those teams get knocked out. One of the great Cinderella stories, and we have a couple of questions in the history of the NCAA tournament, was written by and orchestrated by our own University of Miami head coach, the great Jim Larinaga, with George Mason, 2006. And man, they knocked off some heavyweights on their way into the Final Four. That was a pretty cool run, and I think they were the lowest ever seed to make it to the Final Four at that time. They I believe went into the tournament as a number 11 seed, and they mowed down just a series of real heavyweights of college basketball. And I'll have a question, as I said, pertaining to that later on. And then ended up losing in their first game of the Final Four, but they made it there. And Jim Larinaga has great stories about that. And it looks like he's going to make it there again. Nice game by your Florida State Seminoles yesterday. What happened there, Lubie? What's the excuse?
I don't know.
How did they get pounded by 40 by Syracuse, which was a lousy team this year? Syracuse was not very good.
No, they were already the big story outside of that, them losing by 1 million, was the Buddy Boeheim punch that didn't get seen.
Yeah.
He still got suspended for. So I don't know. They struggled all year. They've been down 3 to 4 starters since the halfway point of the season, and they somehow got over that and won 3 in a row to end the regular season. But Syracuse, that zone, this unit with other injuries, struggled mightily with Syracuse in the season, and it just hit the head yesterday. I mean, they were out of that game from the jump. Their offense and their defense was a disaster, and the 12 Boeheims exploited them and did whatever they wanted.
I think they won by like 40 points. It was like 96-50 something. It really begs one of the magic questions. I mean, one of the mysterious questions of all time in life. I guess the biggest one would be, is there life after death? All right. I don't know how you feel about that. Is there life after death? I believe that not to be the case. I'm going to go with no on that until proven otherwise, right? It'd be great to find out I was wrong on that one, right? Is there life after death? I mean, imagine if you could just start this party all over again.
That'd be wonderful. That'd be great. Wow. If overtime and you just kept it going.
right? You talk about borrowed time, Lubie. If there's life after death, that is the ultimate version of borrowed time. So that would be, I think, the most perplexing and difficult question to answer. Is there life after death? I mean, people spend endless hours in churches and synagogues trying to explore, what the possibilities would be of A, that happening, and B, where they stand with God in the afterlife. I have a lot of concern about that, right, Lubie? I don't know. I'm not overwhelmingly concerned about that. If there is life after death and it involves, either going upstairs or downstairs, I'm going straight to hell. I know that.
You're not going to hell. You haven't done it. It's all been legal for the most part, what you do. And the stuff you do that's quote unquote illegal is very soft stuff. I would think your heart, which is a strong thing, would get you upstairs. But again, I don't know because I'm probably borderline too. So I don't know.
No. I mean, you have to figure. I mean, most of the guys that we meet that are doing this for a living, and most of the people you meet in general are good people. No,
Yes.
I mean, I would still like to believe that most people are inherently good. That was a big thing in religion classes that I took at Syracuse. I actually attended a couple of those, Louis, believe it or not, because I had some interest in all philosophical thought processes, including religion. And that was the big, what was it? Thomas Hobbes was a guy. He thought that man was like inherently good.
Yes.
And then, there were any number of other people that thought that man was inherently evil. And you can make an argument for both sides, even with what's going on in the world today, right? I mean, you're seeing a lot of people rally together and, try and go out and do some good. And then you got Putin blowing up like maternity hospitals and thinking nothing of it. And, it's not like, old Vladimir's coming out with a statement going, man, I tell you what, I can't believe our guys can't shoot straight. We're trying to take out military bases and they're shooting up hospitals. This is appalling. We're going to stop the bombing right now and see if we can't sit down and negotiate some kind of. You don't see that coming from this guy, right? Because he's inherently evil. I mean, I'll come out and say that. And if the KGB comes and takes me away here in the middle of the show, then you won't have to answer my trivia questions. Which we want you to do. We want you to participate in the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. But anyway, I want to believe that. I want to believe that man is inherently evil. But the other question that is even more perplexing than whether or not there's life after death, is there an afterlife? Are you going to heaven or are you going to hell? Is how on earth does the 2-3 zone that Syracuse applies still work in the college game of today? How is that possible?
Every year.
Right? They play the same 2-3 zone that we've talked about this a zillion times. Where I mean, you go to the park, you don't feel like playing any defense. All you want to do is shoot the ball when your team has it, and you call it out as the team's coming up the floor for the first possession that they have, and you turn around to your teammates and go, "Let's go 2-3 zone."
Yep.
Right. Because you don't want to do anything. You want to stand there and make a few token moves. Let some other guy that's like 6'5" grab the rebound and then fire it down the court there as you're cherry picking around the mid court stripe.
It's like you watched.
That was my game anyway. Yeah.
I feel like you were there at Flamingo Park when we were playing when I was in high school.
The 2-3 is a joke. I mean, you see it all the time, but it's a very, in my opinion, it's a very soft zone. Is it not? The 2-3
It's for
zone.
kids. It's for kids. It's literally the definition of a soft zone. It's not. There's other zones, but they're more aggressive. It's very passive, and it forces you to be aggressive on offense. And if you can be, it's easy to break. And if you can't be, then you can win. And Syracuse, this time of year, every year, it befuddles a lot of teams.
Jimmy B's got to be approaching 50 years as the head coach at Syracuse. What is it, 47? He took over from a guy named Roy Danforth. Jim Boeheim was the freshman basketball coach in the 69-70 season when I was there. And then a couple of years later, he took over for a guy named Roy Danforth, who was a coach at Syracuse, who opted to leave Syracuse, which was somewhat surprising, to go to Tulane, which I don't recall Tulane ever being. I mean, they've had some good teams here and there, but have they ever been considered like a basketball power? Whereas Danforth leaves and Boeheim takes over, and Syracuse almost instantly becomes entrenched as one of the better basketball programs, certainly top 20 consideration every year, if not higher, for almost 4 decades. They haven't been as strong lately.
He started in 76, so it's 46
There you go.
years or 45 seasons. I don't know, something of that nature.
Yeah. And of course, people forget that Jim Boeheim was part of one of the most dynamic college basketball backcourts of all time. He was a backcourt mate of, and this could be on the trivia challenge, right? The great Dave Bing, Detroit Pistons
Oh,
fame.
okay. Yeah, you've said that before. Okay.
Undersung basketball star. You don't hear a lot of people talking about Dave Bing being
He's a
one of
Hall
the
of
greats.
Famer, isn't he?
This
He's a
guy
Hall
was
of Famer.
great. I mean, Dave Bing was great. And he was teamed up in the backcourt. Boeheim was like a 6'7", 6'8" guard.
Oh,
Teamed
wow.
up with Dave Bing at Syracuse, but the team wasn't that good. I mean, they were like, a very mid-pack 500 type of team prior to the class that actually came in when I was there. Really started the turnaround of Syracuse basketball, triggered a lot by a guy who I knew very well named Mike Lee, whose brother Jimmy Lee was part of that 74 team that went with Dennis Duval to the Final Four. And that was sort of the beginning of the recognition that Syracuse would get as a basketball entity. Anyway, they pounded the crap out of your Florida State Seminoles yesterday, and they had like a 3-picture series in my New York Post today of Buddy Boeheim punching that kid from Florida State, which I'm not sure. I mean, he got suspended for 1 game, so he's not going to be able to play against Duke, which you would think. And I didn't realize this. Is it possible that Buddy Boeheim led the ACC in scoring with an average that was sub 20 points? Nobody in the ACC averaged 20 a game?
The ACC was super down this year. Duke was really the only legit. I mean, Wake Forest was actually pretty good, but no one at Wake is special. And the thing with Duke is, again, they had such a great class that the scoring spread out. But they had, like Larinaga said, they have 4.
That Pablo cat, man, he had averaged 20 a game for Duke.
He's a point guard, and he's like a legit point guard. So I'm sure he tries to distribute as much as he does score. And it's college. The college game. They don't score 100 points a game.
No, that's true.
I mean, I'll look it up, but that actually would make a lot of sense. The ACC was super down. Duke would be your only hope there. And again, Duke had like 5 guys.
I almost fell off the toilet seat when I saw that Buddy Boeheim was the leading scorer in the ACC with an average of 19.7 a game. There's no Mike. Well, Jordan was held under 20 by Dean Smith, right?
There you go.
How about that, Dino? Way to go, man. You subdued one of the great scorers of all time into being a sub 20 point a game scorer. And, of course, came up with the most hideous, other than, see, you can't blame Jim Boeheim for running that 2-3, can you? Because it's worked. Surprisingly.
How would you not run it? He's not recruiting like he used to, but he still shocks the world every single season with these freaking wins because people don't know how to play a way of defending that's from like the 60s.
Yeah, I mean, when you have an option team in college football, and you'll hear the rhetoric leading up to the game. Well, you know what? It's not going to be easy to prepare for like Georgia Tech, and you're thinking, why? I mean, they're running a simplistic, a prehistoric, primitive offense, right? So, wouldn't it be easier to prepare for that? And yet, I don't know, how difficult can it be to prepare for Jim Boeheim's 2-3 zone that he's been running for 46 years? At Syracuse as his primary defense. And I don't know, did he ever switch it up? Did he ever go man? Like even for a few seconds?
No,
Never, right?
They're like religious with the zone. That's like literally
unbelievable, yeah. Well, what are they playing with a little more tenacity than most people do at the park? I guess that would be true.
Length. They're supposedly every year their thing is that they have length, so it makes it harder for the passing lanes because of the length. I don't know. A zone shouldn't be a big fucking deal. If just you're gonna get wide open shots and you're gonna have the middle wide open.
Well, you see a lot more of it in the NBA since they, liberated and, loosened up the rule on zone defenses. Remember, they were
you couldn't do it.
You couldn't run any kind of a zone. They've blown a whistle, right? Although I'm noticing this: is 3 seconds a thing of the past, where you have guys in the paint for like an hour?
They never call.
Nothing called there. I mean, how they could possibly call this 8-second violation for not getting the ball over the midcourt stripe? When they never whistle anybody. I mean, you're watching guys wrestling in the paint there. Guy's got a guy in a headlock, and he's giving him a noogie. Never mind Buddy Boeheim and one little swat to the stomach. Suspended for a game against Duke. That's going to be a burial, huh? I have to check the point spread on that one, but I'm all in on Duke. Oh, and Coach K, how mad is he going to be after losing the last game to North Carolina? Are you kidding me? So that would have been my play. I think it's too late to get it in North Carolina to win the ACC tournament. With the express intent of getting North Carolina into the final game, which, based on what we saw the last part, a few games of the season, should they not make it to the finals of the ACC, who's going to knock off North Carolina if not Duke?
Wake Forest is really the only other team that's look. UM actually had a good year. It's just outside of Wake Forest, none of the teams are really impressive. The ACC's super off this year.
As evidenced yesterday by your 40-point bludgeoning at the hands of
To a bad
Syracuse.
team, yeah, to a bad team.
Cro-Magnon man was in a 2-3 when they played basketball. It's unbelievable. All right, we're going to do a little trivia challenge. Should we give the number out here? Yes, you have it up there on the
I've
screen.
had it up there the whole show. I haven't removed it once.
All
But
right,
yeah,
well, let's hope some people take
let me
advantage of
have
that. 954-417-0070. It's going to be head-to-head competition here. So we're going to get two people involved, and we're going to face them off in what should be a verbal bloodbath going right until about 8 o'clock this morning. Then we'll
Yes.
get into some NCAA stuff and some other things. There were some transactions involved. Carson Wentz now is, I don't know, how significant is that? And it's weird because you saw what Russell Wilson was worth. Now, Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz. I'm not going to imply for 1 second that that isn't the case. Is he light years better
Yeah.
than Carson Wentz?
Yeah, Wentz was not good. Like outside of the year they went to the Super Bowl, Wentz has not been good. And then last year was supposed to be the savior. The Colts were good in spite of him. Like, if he was any better, they would have been a playoff team. Probably would have challenged for the Super Bowl. Like, that's how bad Wentz is. Like, he's Wentz.
Yeah, I mean, here's a number one overall pick, right? Wentz was number one that year. He was either 1 or 2.
He was behind Goff, I think. It was
Goff, Goff and Wentz they went 1-2. Wentz, distinguished himself very well. Looked like he was going to be just an extremely good quarterback in the National Football League. And then, what was it? Injuries that impeded him.
And then after that, the Eagles went to the dumpster. So people thought it was the Eagles more than him. Well, Colts had everything last year. Had receivers.
Statistically, though, he doesn't look bad. I think he has a big upside. Touchdown passes to picks. Last year.
He had decent numbers because they had one of the best offensive lines. It was the opposite of the Dolphins. He had everything around him, so his numbers aren't bad. But if you watched him in fourth quarters, he was really
well. I mean, it's not like you're going to the stadium going, "Oh man, I can't wait to see what Wentz does today." Unless you're rooting for the other team, and you're hoping for him to make some kind of serious blunder. But I mean, we were talking about this the other day. Jean Morant. And Jean Morant is a guy now that you would he qualifies under the sort of hypothetical. Would you pay money to go see this guy?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, yep.
And, for me to pay money to go see any sporting event after getting in for free my entire life, going all the way back to being 14 years old, hawking the Suves at Shea. And, I mean, that was one of my objectives in life, was to get into all sporting events for nothing.
Yep.
And we've been able to do that, which is fantastic. So, but I don't mind paying for tickets if that happens to be, what is necessary. Like when we were out of town, we went to that Milwaukee Bucks game or whatever that was against the Timberwolves. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't mind paying for tickets in that spot, even though we were trying to bargain a guy down to whatever we could. Because, hey, they're tipping the ball off. What are you talking about? These are worthless as of this second.
It was after tip, and I was like, wow, even Miami guys would negotiate a little.
You know what? The Timberwolves, not a great team over the years, for sure. I mean, and they didn't have any real star power then. I guess, they had Karl Anthony Towns, a couple of other guys, and they weren't great, though. And, man, they had a pretty good, solid, very encouraging, youthful, and sort of enthusiastic fan base, did they not?
Yes. I was going to say the fans were great. I was like, Jesus, they're very supportive for an organization that's never won.
And think about this, you might have been paying money to see Karl Anthony Towns, but guess what? You got about a 20-minute dose of with the Timberwolves that particular game, Matthew Dellavedova. Would you pay money to see Dellavedova play ball? I don't think so.
John Morant is like, to me,
he's an attraction at this point.
Who can shoot? Like, he's high flying and he's aggressive and he's all over the place like Westbrook, but he can actually shoot too.
Westbrook was more of I mean, he's an excellent player. I'm a big Westbrook fan, but he didn't integrate himself into the team concept to nearly the extent that John Morant does.
Oh, no.
John Morant and his team seem to be in very tight symmetry, even though he's going to be the dominant player. But it isn't as if the rest of the guys are stiffs and they're standing around. That they do seem to feed off each other. Yep. Is that the way of putting it, Mr. Mike Mayock? Do they feed off each other? But it would go out of your way, maybe. I mean, if I saw Memphis was coming to town here, I might consider if I couldn't poach a couple of freebies off my man Pat Riley. I would consider. What if Pat said, "Listen, Defo, you're going to have to pay to see this guy." I probably would do it.
Probably. Yeah, he's worth it.
You think I could get straight through to Pat to ask for tickets?
No, I'm not gonna lie. No.
He would want us at the games, though, Lubie. He knows we've been big supporters of the Pat Riley organization there, the Miami Heat. All right, we're going to do the trivia challenge. Dial us up. We need some players, 954-417-0070. 954-417-0070. No restrictions, no bans. Only the Chronic is eligible. Anybody is eligible to play. Hialeah Park, great place. We love talking about Hialeah Park. Going to be exciting again this week. I saw it. Lubie, it's a daily occurrence there. Somebody swipes down like a huge jackpot. You know what it was yesterday? 33 dimes on the Royal Reels slot machines that they have there. They're paying, I mean, you could go buy a house, I mean, or even a tank of gas.
Oh my
Unbelievable.
God.
33 dimes. So it was like 50 a couple of days ago. Somebody hit for 8 the day before yesterday. And yesterday, somebody walks out of there with $33,000. A very sweet-looking young lady and was going back home and, you know, probably told her husband that she won $3,000. Stuff the other 30 in a shoebox, and then the next thing you know, it's hasta la vista, baby. I'll see you later. But no, this is the kind of thing, you know, not necessarily a life-changing score, but you know, certainly a day changer.
I take 30 grand.
You know, something that'll change your attitude about the upcoming week and maybe this next round of bills that are coming in. But absolutely fantastic. And if you're out there to have some fun, that's what they want you to do at Hialeah Park. That's why they make it possible to win. And they have all these people that are leaving there super happy. Get a player's card when you come in. It gives you all kinds of entitlements, free play, a lot of discounts all over the place. And part of the, you know, ambiance there is the great food and drink that they have at Hialeah Park. And just a very, very, not only a relaxed vibe, I mean, it's hard to fuse these two things together, but still with that buzz of excitement that you get when you're in a casino atmosphere. And that's what you're looking for, right? You don't want to feel like you just walked into a funeral home, but when you're going to a casino and realize that whatever money you have in your pocket, that's going up in smoke. It evaporated. I don't know exactly what happened. It just like, you know, levitated itself right out of my pocket and into thin air. That's how you feel in some casino settings. It's like that. Those casinos are not exactly big pay with the machines in Atlantic City, right? Not exactly huge payoffs there, but they don't play that game at Hialeah Park. They want the fans to come in there and have a good time, and that's why it's such a wonderful place, or among the many reasons. Champion simulcasting room. You got the great racing going on here as we head into the Triple Crown Series with the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and the Belmont Stakes, the Travers later on, the Saratoga Meet. Great place to catch all your simulcasts and go screen to screen without any inhibitions and impediments whatsoever in terms of, hey, you're going to be there all day at that machine? Plenty of betting machines and all kinds of good stuff going on there at Hialeah Park in the Champion simulcasting room. I love the brass rail bar there. They don't hit you over the head, club you over the head for the price of a drink. It's a great place to go just to unwind in any type of fashion, no matter what your pleasure is. Make your plans to be at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're lining up some players here, and it's going to be head-to-head. We're going to have a two-person competition today in the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. And I don't know how difficult these questions are. I made them up in the middle of the night. So, you know, but they're certainly relevant to what's going on today, including a couple of Jim Larinaga, George Mason NCAA questions, if you want to do a little advanced research. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He is Mike Lubitz. We're coming back. Dial us up, 954-417-0070 here on Ion Channel with our abridged edition of the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:44, Willie McCovey time. Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. thank goodness for landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
You've lost that love and feeling, which I marched down the aisle to on 2 occasions. It was one of those, Karen, that was all we had. That was all they had. They only had a couple of musical choices, none of which were particularly good.
I feel like that says something if that's all you can walk through the aisle.
You never close your eyes. That part's good. But when the chorus starts and everybody's singing in the audience,
feeling.
you've lost that love and feeling.
There is nothing better than Defo. It's now time for the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show on this fine Thursday. We originate here in South Florida. And, of course, you see Hialeah Park in the background there. And we're brought to you by beautiful Hialeah Park. And it's the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. The Polyman, no word from the Polyman. And I don't know if this is good or bad, Lubie. No word from the Polyman. I would say the last 10 days I haven't heard from this man.
Yeah, it's not great.
Now, I haven't gone out of my way to call him or contact him, but I have not heard a word from the Polyman. So, sometimes that's okay. We're hoping that everything is all right with this.
I hope it's okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's vowed to rejoin us at some point and says that once he comes back, that's it. He'll never miss another show till he goes to his grave, which, when you don't hear from a guy for a while, right? What do you do? When do you alert the police? We'll go out there and check and see if he's okay. But anyway, we're hoping for the best for the Polyman. Dave Gurgles Gurgley had a previous engagement with a golf tournament and was going to be restricted until late in the show to come on. But by then, I think we would have already wanted to have concluded the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. So we're going to play a couple of people here. And when the line is available, we have somebody on hold here. We're going to get started right away at 954-417-0070. And Lubie's going to give away yet another gift certificate to a local restaurant here. Landlubbers, wow. And they will be cranking. Yeah. There are a lot of places to go. We have another fine sponsor on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, Shenanigans. That's a great place to go. Sports bars. I mean, where would you be inclined to take this? Oh, you're going to the Foundry with the professor.
The place I go is when I'm with the professor, we go to his establishment, the Foundry out east, and then Lubs. We watched the title game a couple years ago at Lubs, and that place gets hammered. It's in a good way. Like, it's an energy, it's a vibe. Yeah. We still have really great.
You want to be in an atmosphere as if you were in Cameron,
games,
indoors.
Yeah.
It's really you were one of the crazies. I'm hoping Duke gets knocked out, right away in the tournament. But I have a funny feeling, right? Are they going to write this Cinderella story? Coach K out the door on a magic carpet ride certainly looms as a possibility. Is North Carolina more of a threat than people are giving them credit for? Mike Lubitz?
I don't know. I haven't heard.
They just pounded Duke in Cameron Indoor on the greatest day in the history of life, as far as any Duke fan goes. The big ceremony celebrating 42 years of excellence by Coach Krzyzewski. And what happens to the guy? He falls apart at the seams there and has to start cursing out the crowd. Shut up already. We lost today. I'm so upset. Stuff it up your ear end there, Coach K. I hope you get knocked out early in the tournament. All right, here we go. You ready to go, Libby? Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. And we're going to go ahead and play our first contestant here. And as we said, get ready because it's Let's Get Ready to Rumble. We're going to go with two people and go right to the championship round. All right? All right, so this, one of the all-time standards here on the show in terms of a quote, and it is in honor of the Polyman. Can you do it with me? Easy baseball.
Baseball.
You got to do it in a Polyman voice if you can.
I can't do I don't even try. I let you and yours.
Easy baseball.
Yeah, my voice is bad.
Okay. What famous quipster and often quoted, kind of in the sort of malaprop sort of mode, said, and this guy, of course, was a Hall of Famer and, maybe the greatest catcher of all time in some people's opinion, which is saying a lot. Holy Johnny Bench, hold your tongue, Defo. Who said when giving directions to his home, to a barbecue he was having, and he told the people, when you get to the fork in the road, take it. Was that Yogi Berra, Yogi Bear, Bear Stearns or Bear Bryant?
Take the fork. I love him. His quotes are my favorite.
It's like the backseat driving of the Mustang. Yeah, turn here, no there. Yeah. Here, no there. There's your random phone scrambler. And it lands on Ron. Ron, welcome to the show. You're on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge on the Defo Show. Ron, how are you, my friend?
Oh, man.
Good morning, fellas.
Good
Let's
morning,
go with
Mr. Ron.
A.
A is correct. You have 1 point. You're very much in the game here, and you're on some very firm turf already here. All right, true or false? And you're going to probably, I think, see her in the gallery at the Tournament Players Championship at some point, chasing around Dustin Johnson. Who did they get married? Paulina Gretzky and Dustin Johnson? I believe they did.
A while ago. Weren't they haven't they been married? I thought.
Yeah, I mean, they were together for quite some time. But, okay, here's your true-false question, Ron. Before beginning her relationship with golfer Dustin Johnson, the lovely Paulina Gretzky had a long-term relationship with hockey star Sidney Crosby. True or false?
Let's go false.
It is false. Yeah, no, I made that up. Sidney Crosby, I mean, would that make sense? I was figuring hockey, right? Maybe Wayne introduced his lovely daughter, but she would have been too young, really, to be dating Sidney Crosby long before her thing got established there with Dustin Johnson. All right, you're 2 for 2, and going for 5 here is a 3-point question, and it involves our good friend, great friend of the program. Love having him on any show that we do. Any conversation with him is absolutely a treat for us when it comes to college basketball or life in general. The great Jim Larinaga, who made that fantastic run with George Mason in 2006. Yep. All right, so the question would be, and which of the teams did George Mason not defeat? Who beat George Mason after they knocked down Michigan State, North Carolina, Wichita State, and then all right, I butchered this whole question here because I didn't write it out.
I love it. I'm like, are you giving him the answer?
Yeah. I almost am. Yeah.
Well,
who's left?
you know what?
Let me start this one from scratch here. Let me start this one from scratch.
You ready, Ron? Go.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. This is a whole new approach to this question here. Michigan State, North Carolina, Wichita State, and whom did George Mason beat to become the CAA's first ever Final Four team? Was that UConn, Kentucky, Indiana, or Georgetown? Who was the team they beat to make it to the Final Four?
They beat, yes, of those 4 teams.
Let's go UConn.
UConn it was. Very nice. They beat UConn, who was a number 1 seed, and that triggered their move into the Final Four. All right, going for the sweep here, Ron. I'll put you in a very strong position. Would you figure that was the case, that this guy was a lock to make the finals if we're playing 2 guys and he sweeps? Okay.
Yes.
You do the math on that. All right, here we go, Ron. But for I mean, the distinction of being a sweeper on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. All right, I'm going to make this very easy. Who was last year's National League batting champion? Because we may not have baseball for a little while here. So going back into last year, and I love batting average. I think that is really much more of a measuring stick of a hitter's success in a lot of cases than power numbers when contrasted with massive numbers of strikeouts. Yeah. I want a guy that's making contact. So who was last year's National League batting champion? Was it Juan Soto, Christian Yelich, Trey Turner, or Bryce Harper?
Oh, God. That's a good one.
I don't know this one. Let's go Trey Turner.
It was Trey Turner.
Well, I thought you
who played for 2 different teams, right? He was with the Nationals, and then he got traded to the Dodgers, right? Trey Turner.
Yes.
And he led the league in hitting with a .328 batting average. Sweeper Ron.
All right, Ron. So
great job.
Ron, we'll get back to you. I'll give you a call to get you in the finals.
All right. The finals right around the corner here as we'll play another player, and then we're going to go head-to-head. That's the MO for today's show. Ron with, wow, that was great. Because he wasn't sure of that answer. And, to come up with Trey Turner, I thought was pretty good because it's not necessarily a guy you think of as a batting champion, right, Lubie? You would think probably of all 3 of the other guys, including the great Juan Soto, before you'd come up with Trey Turner. Now, Bryce Harper I probably would have thrown out because he wasn't a big average hitter, but last year he was. So and we ended up eating like a crow omelet with regard to Bryce Harper because we kept asking the question, what was more overrated, the stone crab or Bryce Harper? And up until very recently, the answer was obviously Bryce Harper. But it might be the stone crab at this point. It's $70 a pound, Lubie. What do you think? Overrated, the stone crab? I have to put it and Harper wins the MVP somehow, even though everybody thinks he's kind of a schmank.
He now has 2 MVPs in his career.
Yeah.
Not many people have that, so we sort of have to. We can't really call him overrated anymore. The dude is. Really
I put him in the same category as J.D. Drew. It's just like a guy that everybody thought was great, but really wasn't all that. All right, dial us up, 954-417-0070, 954-417-0070. We'll get another player involved here on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubitz. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. We were talking about it. I love those Mondays with John Kajemi. For a lot of reasons, we love John. He's great. And by the way, I'll give you his entries that he put in for us. I entered his ticket in the Tournament Players Championship pool. Okay.
Yeah, you said it yesterday.
Oh, I gave it to him. Yeah. He had Max Homa in there. I mean, I would rather have Chief Nakahoma than Max Homa after I used Max Homa in one of my other pools, and he cost me a placement and a cash position in the pool because he was like 19 over par by the second round, Max Homa, who was kind of coming on. I mean, these guys, they flirt with, greatness there for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden they fall apart. And is it horses for courses? That's the other thing you have to consider. I mean, golf, a fascinating bet. I think it's the best bet. I hate to say this, I mean, because, a lifelong horse player, but golf, you may get more run for your money in a golf wagering proposition than you do in any other sport because it's a 4-day thing. Every shot counts. I can't wait to turn on the Golf Channel later on today and start following what's going on in the TPC to see if we're going to get out of the chute with any kind of steam whatsoever, Lubie, and have a chance to win this thing. All right, you want to just go ahead and conclude the whole thing with the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge? Let's do that. And then we'll get into some NCAA baskets here with Blake Chadwick in the second hour of the program. All right, I'm going to go ahead and feature another Easy Baseball. And this is one of my all-time favorites, and that is prior to going to the All-Star game, this player was asked what his thoughts were if he was not named to the starting lineup. And his response was, if I ain't starting, I ain't departing. Exactly. Was that Gary Templeton, Gary Busey, Gary Coleman, or Choo Coleman, who will be a subject of a trivia question later on in this set. And Scrambler lands on, oh, great, man. I mean, this is a powerhouse lineup here. We got Rana ready with his sweep. And Lenny the Chronic is with us here on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Lenny, how are you, my friend?
Hey, guys. How's it going? It's a battle.
Going good. I mean, yeah, we're going to give you a point here. And, you have a long way to go, although I would venture to say that you're pretty much assured a spot in the finals. All right. True or false? You probably know this one, Lenny, because were you a Met fan growing up or a Yankee fan? Or did you not root for either of those teams?
Met guy.
You were a Met fan, right? Okay. So you might know this. After his baseball career was over, true or false, Choo Coleman became a chef at a Chinese restaurant. True or false?
It sounds ridiculous, so I'm going to say true.
It is true, and it wasn't quite as ridiculous, to get there. It wasn't like he just went like from catching for the Mets to being a line cook at Woe Hops. But he married into a family that owned a Chinese restaurant, and the legend goes that he would actually get behind the stove there and cook some of the meals. So he was technically a cook at a Chinese restaurant. Yeah. All right, you're 2 for 2, Lenny, going for 5 here, trying to match Ron's sweep. All right, and this gets back to Jim Larinaga and that George Mason run, 2006, number 11 seed. They make it to the Final Four, Cinderella City. Who eventually knocked George Mason out of that year's NCAA tournament? Was that Duke, Florida, UCLA, or Michigan?
I'm going to go with the Gators.
It was them Gators.
Yeah, it was the Gators. It's annoying.
Are these questions too easy, Lubie? I mean, what is the deal here? We haven't had any one of them.
Like, I remember that run
Those
really
were two
well.
guesses. Those are guesses.
Well, I knew those.
All
I
right.
run well. I hated the Gators, and I was really on the George Mason.
They won those 2 championships there with the guy with the mullet, right? I mean,
They had
yeah.
Noah, and they had Horford, and they had a couple, and they had Corey Brewer. Yeah, that was that group. That was their first title.
All right, so here you go to match your sweep.
Yeah.
And we would have had to suspend the game and stop it right there anyway if we had back-to-back sweepers and just go straight to the finals. So let's hope you get this one right, Lubie. I mean, Lenny, and even Lubie. You could participate and help him, but I don't think Lubie would know this answer. Okay, of the following, who did not win one of the last 3 Tournament Players Championship titles? Who did not win one of the last 3 Tournament Players Championship titles? Was that Justin Thomas, Webb Simpson, Rory McIlroy, or Ricky Fowler?
Oh, well.
Justin Thomas.
No, Thomas won last year's. He's a defending champion. Ricky Fowler has won it. Lubie was laughing.
Fowler never wins.
No, but he has won. He has won a Tournament Players Championship among the few wins that he's had on tour. But it was not one of the last 3. And they didn't play it in 2020 because of the COVID-19 thing. So those 3 guys were winners. All right, we're going to line up Ron and Lenny. Why don't we give Lubie a little time to work that out? And so I can tell you about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, Key Largo, the Overseas Highway, just a beautiful place. Amy did a great job of depicting the images of Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And you're thinking, well, and we talk about this all the time, that, you get to the place and it looks nothing like the brochure. I can assure you it's even more spectacular than the pictures. They couldn't possibly tell the story of how great it is, as beautiful and well-assembled as they are. It's a fantastic place. You're going to love it. Now, with this NCAA tournament thing, it starts Thursday. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere, as they say, and it's always time to start drinking heavily if you're in the Keys. So you got the sports bar there, remodeled. You have Dominic and Jimmy, John's brother, man. What a master chef. And what goes better with NCAA tournament action than nachos, chicken wings, and I don't know if you want to call them exotic pizzas, because, I mean, they're they have all the taste that you look for in a conventional pizza pie, but then on top of that, I mean, just wild combinations in terms of toppings, including the Italian fisherman, man. I could see myself parked there with a couple of brewskis, the Italian fisherman pizza, a bunch of guys that you enjoy watching basketball games with, and the remodeled sports bar there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. But that's only part of the fun. They got the tiki bar, swimming pool, great food and drink all over the place. So whether you're talking about the freshest seafood coming out there prepared, yes, I'd like the pecan-encrusted mahi-mahi, right? If that's your pleasure, they have that. If you want the pork nachos piled to the ceiling, I mean, and not one of those batches of nachos where everything underneath, like the very top, is dry as a bone. I hate that, Lubie. That's one of my big pet peeves about nachos, right?
It always happens. I hate nachos because they don't get it underneath. That's what's impressive about Jimmy Johnson's, is they actually.
How about a layer of that stuff? As soon as you lay down the first layer of chips, I want some slop on there. I really do. I want a ladle of something, man.
Exactly.
Anything, right? Put some guacamole down there.
Something, jeez, don't do shit.
Jimmy's big on nachos, Jimmy Johnson. And he wouldn't attach his name to anything that didn't have like the greatest, arrangement of nachos and serving. So that's part of it. Chicken wings and then the pizzas. I mean, just an ideal situation, like I said, all the way around. And you can have that, or you can, like I said, pheasant under glass. I mean, it's not beneath them to, go ahead and even honor that request. Hey, can somebody go out there and catch me a pheasant? You can see Jimmy now getting on that. So anyway, check it out for yourself. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Great place. Mile marker 104 Overseas Highway, and that is in Key Largo. All right, we're set for the finals here, and we'll see if I can, get the question. Oh, this is an easy one because we were talking about this yesterday with Tony Segreto, although I don't think we mentioned this aspect of things. So, Ron, I'm going to toss out this question. And Lenny, you guys both know the rules. Perennial champions here. Ron's really come on in the last couple of years, and Lenny was always, right from the outset of the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge, one of the great players in the game's history. So I'm going to toss out a question. Call out your name if you want to answer right away. Nobody answers right away. I offer multiple choice. First person to call out his name gets first chance. We go back and forth till we have a winner. Lubie's got, as if Lenny needed one, a Landlubber's gift certificate to be given away here to the champion, and Jack Namer. I think he's working on some kind of WWE championship belt
Nice.
that maybe we'll crown an annual champion and award that. So it's quite a distinction, as we said, to be a champion on on Channel, because until we brought this contest to them, I don't think they were big on contests and game shows. Lubie, I don't know if that was one of their endeavors to get into the game show business. But here we go. All right, here we go for the championship. Ali Frazier won. We talked about that. March 8th was the anniversary, I believe, 51st anniversary of Ali Frazier won, Madison Square Garden in New York City. Tony Segreto was not there, although he was all around this thing with his coverage. The question is, who was the referee for that bout? Ali Frazier won at Madison Square Garden, 1971 on March the 8th. Who was the referee for that bout? Anybody? All right, here's multiple choice. Was it Tony Perez, Arthur Mercanti, Larry Hazard, or Frank Cappuccino? Who was the referee for that fight?
I'll go Lenny.
Okay.
Lenny.
Larry Hazard.
Larry Hazard, the great New Jersey referee, and later the athletic commissioner of the state of New Jersey, and now I believe is some kind of executive with one of the boxing organizations, is incorrect. Sorry about that. So three left for Ron.
Well, I guess
Was
Thanks.
You bought into that too.
Yeah, you
See,
did.
I'm trying to milk this for all it's worth.
You
I
don't
really
need
am.
to
To give Hialeah, a lot of bang for their buck, because you see that Hialeah thing in the background. That's what it's all about here. Tony Perez, Arthur Mercanti, Frank Cappuccino. Who was the referee? Ali Frazier won. Ron, it's your shot.
Let's go, Arthur McKinney.
It was the great Arthur Mercanti, the obvious answer. Away from that.
Good job, Ronald.
Very good. Ron aces out Lenny. I no doubt Lenny will be invited on Ron's ticket to Landlubbers. He's our winner today of the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Congratulations on that. And thank you, people, for participating. And we're not done. We're far from done on this Thursday edition of the Defo Show. Our good friend Blake Chadwick. See, I haven't really found anything yet, Lubie, that now that Iona was eliminated, I haven't really found anything yet that I can wrap my arms around. What team was it? Was it Bryant that this kid Kiss plays for? Have you seen him?
No.
Was that off that Bryant Wagner game? Where did I see this guy Kiss? I can't connect the dots. I think he might have led the nation in scoring. Never mind, Buddy Boeheim with his lousy 19.7 a game. This guy was averaging like, I don't know, some enormous amount of points, like it was Pistol Pete Maravich. And he looked great, but at what level of competition?
I don't know.
I don't know that he was going in there and trying to, roll his way inside against like Duke or anything like that. Who plays the toughest defense in NCAA basketball? Do we know?
Virginia. I mean, Virginia.
Virginia, yeah.
They get away with fucking murder.
Yeah.
It's like the 1990s when Virginia played basketball.
It really is. All their games are in like the 50s.
Yeah, it's like the Knicks Heat.
It's hard to watch, really. Yeah, Knicks Heat. Remember that used to be? Oh, what a beauty we had here tonight at the old Miami Arena. The New York Knicks come away with a 74-71 victory.
That's like first.
That's a halftime score. Yeah, halftime score now. I'm watching the Heat. Eric Reed is saying they're playing great defense. They've given up 57 points. They're like the Hawks. Not even the Hawks. It was like Houston. The Rockets, by the way. How bad are the Lakers right now? I mean, it's dire straits, and yet they still go to LeBron after every game.
Well, what do you mean? They start off Sports Center with the Lakers.
Lakers, the number one story, right? Where's this Rob Pavelka, the guy that looks like Rob Lowe?
Rob Pavelka.
Why do I want to call him Pavelka? Pavelka, I think, was a wrestler from Bayonne. Okay, and here's the challenger, Ron Pavelka from Bayonne, New Jersey. He hasn't won a match in the last 7 years. But nonetheless, he's in there against the Iron Sheik tonight. Okay, we're going to come back with more. We'll get into the NCAA baskets. A lot more stuff here on the show. I don't know. Lubie thinks that Carson Wentz is a shot fighter. And, talk about losing out on the Russell Wilson sweepstakes.
Oof.
The Commanders there trying to erase all of the thoughts and the assertions and the allegations that are swirling around against the organization, as ugly as they can possibly get, as evidenced here on this show, Lubie.
Yeah, Megan Imbert. I love it. She's great on Twitter, too. She calls him Commander Dan. It's the best.
How is this not being discussed by Roger Goodell and the people that are looking into various things? They're suspending this poor kid Ridley for like a year.
Yep.
Because he bet a couple of parlays there on the very site that they are recommending that everybody gets involved in, right?
It was illegal.
They're giving away FanDuel fantasy bucks. I mean, whatever it is. To promote this, and then one of their players makes a couple of bets, which were innocuous enough in terms of, I mean, did he somehow, ruin the integrity of the game with that move? I don't. Is anybody thinking? Well, you know what? All of those Falcon games, they look fixed, didn't they? I don't think so, right?
But there's a reason.
Who's influencing an NFL player over a $1,500 wager when he was standing to make $11 million in salary this year alone, and probably was going to go through the season, right, and make this 11 mil? No.
Yeah, he was going to play. He was going to make his money. Yeah. He's legit.
But nothing on the Dan Snyder stuff. Hey, Raj, wake up, right? I mean, nothing on that. That one they want to really sweep and bury under the rug. All right. Questions were a little too easy on the trivia challenge, were they not? Did both of those guys sweep? No,
Yes.
Lenny got that last one wrong.
Lenny got the last one wrong, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but he was on his game. I mean, it was well contested there between the two guys today. Sorry to Andy. Andy, this is kind of cool. He said he was watching the show, the video of the show on his phone while on the plane.
Yep. You get internet. If you pay for the internet. I mean,
surprised he didn't get arrested there. It's
not illegal.
Making a terrorist threat. They hear Lubie chiming in. Wait a minute, we can't take off. What is that?
What's that noise?
Like 6 FBI guys with poor Andy with the bad heart. He's got the bad ticker. I mean, he doesn't need to get spooked. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show here on Ion Channel. Tomorrow, don't miss tomorrow's edition of Degenerate Friday. Jersey Kyle said to me yesterday, point blank, eyeball to eyeball, he was buying a computer today. And he was going to be all ready to go and be part of the show again. People have been asking about his whereabouts. He is fine. He's looking good. But, what is that? Some kind of aversion to advancing into modern technology?
I've had a laptop since I was 18. So I don't know.
He owns a multi-million-dollar business, this guy, and he doesn't have a laptop computer?
I don't know. I mean, who doesn't own a computer? Whether it's a desktop, even a desktop. We've had a desktop in my life since I was, I don't know, whatever. Jersey's different. Jersey's just different.
Well, I can do it on my phone. No, you can't. Okay,
you
so
probably
anyway.
could, but why would you want to? Like, you have a computer. It's okay.
Be a part of the show. Yeah, I mean, he was knocking down a big fat paycheck for years.
$200.
Yeah, so that might have dried up, as we make this transition. But nonetheless, a couple of $100, I think he could, for the future of the program, for the good of the show. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? You have to be all in. My horoscope, very favorable signs.
There you go.
Very favorable signs right now. They say, you know what, Deef? Everybody, laughs, at some of your ideas, whatever. They think they're insane. You're on the right track, kid. Gambling is where it's at. So we need Jersey Kyle to be a part of it. That might happen tomorrow. Mark Lawrence returns with some preview steam on the NCAA tournament, and I would imagine some picks even on the conference tournament games. And I'm thinking he probably follows his usual MO of picking only underdogs, which is always great. Because if you can catch some underdogs on the money line with the upsets in the early rounds of the NCAA tournament, and somehow I'm envisioning parlays all based on like one team accomplishing some kind of fluke victory. In other words, I'm going to go ahead and wager everything on a fluke, Lubie. Everything is going to be based on a fluke. Rice upsetting, UCLA or something, right? Something along those lines. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubitz. Great to be with you. Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge, a smashing success. And we'll have the Degenerate Friday show tomorrow. Mark Lawrence, the professor with the big board, plus his college basketball stuff tomorrow. And the Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, who, again, on the radio show, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, slobbering down like a bagel and cream cheese.
It's the grossest thing, and I love the guy.
Why does he think that that's appealing to people? I don't understand.
On video, I don't mind it, but it's on radio.
I hope he doesn't reprise this when he appears with us tomorrow, because I think Jack will blow his brains out if this happens on his airwaves, where he reprises his conversation, which took about 30 minutes of radio time, about how to boil an egg. I mean, I know he gets a little verklempt. I love the guy, but And he kept going on about it. And I'm like,
It's an egg.
I finally had to offer the people out
It's an
there
egg.
a written transcript. Remember how they used to say that? Well, even like a written transcript of today's criminal activity, you can order one. So I think we had a couple of requests for the written transcript because nobody could believe that we were getting a cooking lesson in how to hard boil an egg.
They left. They came back. They're like, okay, they moved on, and then they're like, they're still wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, a guy goes into
They're still
the
talking
the
about it.
convenience store to get a couple of beers, comes back in. He wants to hear what's going on, maybe learn about a restaurant, great place to eat. Maybe there's a special somewhere, and there's Mike Mayo, and he's talking about, well, you know what? Then I let it chill for a couple of minutes off the fire. He'll be with us tomorrow.
We love you, Mayo.
No, Mayo's great.
Dude, we really do.
He knows his food. He really does, but
He's
I
great.
don't know why he finds that. I guess as a visual, it's more appealing than it would be
I
because
don't mind it here. I just
Yeah.
have need for it on the radio. Like I've
on
been
the
with you
radio,
so
it's
long, like,
disgusting enough.
you
You
can
know, but
hear it. It's like no.
that could be a wager, a standard wager that we have on the show. What will Mike Mayo shovel in his face while appearing as the gambling gourmet on the Defo show? I mean, he's done a good job with it so far, right? Because he's always offering up a surprise, right? When he whipped out that
Yes.
heavenly pizza,
And that was
where you
interesting.
get closer to God with every bite. Right.
That's a great
And
slogan.
the frozen Skyline chili, though. I mean,
Get
it
closer
reached
to hell.
a new subterranean low by putting that and foisting that upon people. The concept that anybody would be eating this stuff. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that
The time.
it's 8:16.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
On the local scene, the Heat, of course, making changes. I read a very encouraging article about the Heat's prospects. Not to win the championship so much, but to at least be a very, very big factor in the Eastern Conference, Mike Lubitz. You'll be
Yes.
happy to note that somebody actually agreed with your opinion.
A lot of
Yes.
people said that. They have an interesting
See-
team, and like you said, they're the toughest team in the NBA. You wouldn't want to meet this team down an alley.
No, I mean, this a team that's going to treat everybody the way Tyson treated Mitch Blood Green if they meet in an alley.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. It was a lot of fun conducting the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge today. We always thank the people of Hialeah Park for being just unwavering supporters of all of my
sir.
various media ventures over the years. I couldn't appreciate their support. And it's always very cool. I mean, just a great relationship. We love the people at Hialeah Park. And good to be with you now because we have so many things to discuss here on the program. The NCAA is coming up. We'll have Blake Chadwick joining us in a few minutes here on the show. But in the meantime, Lubie is watching. And we've been asking this question, and I think it's a fair question because I don't know if they're a sleeper anymore. I mean, are you watching the Boston Celtics, Mike Lubitz, and what they're doing, what Jason Tatum is doing? Nobody's talking about the disparities and the acrimony between and the fact that these guys can't coexist between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on the Boston Celtics anymore. And I want to say that they've won 17 of their last 20, and they're pounding teams into Mike Tyson territory, Bolivian in the process. And then again last night, sensational back-to-back performances. Tatum with 50 points one night, 44 the next. No Celtic in history, Lubie. No Celtic in history has had back-to-back 50-point games.
Now that's crazy.
Does that sound unimaginable to you in the history of the Boston Celtics? Like Hondo never went for 50 a couple of nights in a row. People didn't do it back then. And, of course, you didn't have the three-point shot. So that's going to enhance the totals. But, all right, so the Celtics are looking great. I mean, they're coming on. They were, I believe, sub 500 not that long ago. And now very much in the mix there, currently fifth in the standings.
Yes.
In the Eastern Conference. All right, so the teams that are dogging the Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks, they seem to be playing a high level of basketball, and they have all three of their guys, Middleton, Drew Holiday, and, of course, the Greek. What? Is he second in the league in scoring overall, Antetokounmpo? Playing great basketball and very capable of playing great basketball.
Wow, he's tied with Embiid for 29.7 a game for the league lead.
All right, this guy's averaging 30, and he has a supporting cast there of at least two other guys. Plus, I mean, they go, with a little bit of an expanded rotation. They have a lot of guys that can contribute on the Milwaukee Bucks. Very well-balanced team when they're in sync. They weren't playing great basketball earlier in the year. They seem to have it. Budenholzer, I mean, if he doesn't win the championship, he doesn't hold on to the job. But somehow he has them playing very good basketball right now in this last stretch of 15 or so games in the season. 76ers infuse their chances of winning by getting James Harden, who we know can and is capable of capitulating to being a guy that is as much of a catalyst as he is a scoring machine. And when you mix the two together with the right balance, Harden is one hell of a ball player to have on your roster when you already have the possible league MVP in Joel Embiid. So they're contenders. And I say all of this, and then you have the Chicago Bulls, who are having a great season, have been banged up and slumping of late, but, perfectly capable, you would think, of getting it back together to the level that they were playing at when they were surprising people, that they were right there banging on the door not that long ago, tied with the Heat at the very top of the Eastern Conference. So the question, Mike Lubitz, is, are the Heat, as they sit as the best team in the East, a couple of games up on their closest rival or competitor in the Eastern Conference, they're the best in the East in terms of one-loss record? Are they the best team in the East? Are they the best team in the East? They lose last night to the Phoenix Suns, the best in the West.
They got demolished by your Suns and Devin Booker.
They did, yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm thinking nobody really seems to feel like the Suns are going to win the championship, and yet they've been great all year long. They managed to overcome having talk about their catalyst, playmaker, distributor, facilitator, whatever you want to call it. Chris Paul is out now since the All-Star break, and they got injured right before the All-Star break. And it shows you how tough the All-Star game, what level it's contested at, when Chris Paul, with an injury that was going to end his regular season, essentially, still played in the All-Star game. Why did they just throw Will Ferrell out there while they were at it? He was out there warming up Klay Thompson the other day. But the Phoenix Suns still managing to play at a very high level. This Ayton is underrated and is very, very capable. They knocked on the door last year and nearly won a championship. You thought they were going to take it down. They were up 2-0 on the Milwaukee Bucks, who came back from the grave in virtually every series. And managed to come back and win. And my man Piscataway Ray was right about that, because after they were down 2-0, he said, "Don't worry about a thing, Defo. Milwaukee's going to win it all."
Well, the Suns went to the tank. I mean, the Suns should have won that series easy. Like, Ayton, who you're talking about, was great until that third game, and it was like he forgot how to play basketball. It was like freaking weird the rest of that series.
Lost in space. He went all James Harden on that.
He pulled a Harden.
Yeah, where you're wondering, I mean, who drugged this guy before he came out there?
Exactly.
Who put something in his food? I mean, he's just not playing like himself. I mean, he seems to be wandering around like a zombie in the Night of the Living Dead. But anyway, Phoenix comes to town. They crushed the Heat. The Heat did not have Jimmy Butler. They have been able to overcome that in previous games where Jimmy Butler, he's been in and out of the lineup quite a bit. I mean, he's played a substantial portion of games this year, but he's been in and out. Jimmy Butler, as some of the other Heat players. Tyler Hero looks great. You had Duncan Robinson, early in the ball game, he's swishing every three. I think he had 9 points in the first couple of minutes. And Devin Booker really wasn't the main impetus for the early portion of the ball game. I kind of went away from it and I was watching something else for a little while. The Heat were looking like they were in command of that ball game in the early portions.
Early.
And when I got back into it, even though Phoenix was down, it seemed like they were down 10, 12 points in the first quarter and early second. And then all of a sudden, they were right back in it before halftime, and they ultimately cruised away to an easy victory. I don't know. Do you read any significance into that? Mike Lubitz, a lot of people would say, hey, there you go. They're not as good as they say, but can you rate any Heat game in which Jimmy Butler is not a participant as a barometer of where they're at as a team?
Well, look, and I get it. Not having Paul should equal out not having Butler, but the Suns have sort of been able to stem the tide in the regular season without Paul. It's the playoffs where Paul really takes him to another level.
Well, he should be back for the playoffs, according to
he'll be there for the
reports.
playoffs.
Yeah.
Butler, it's like that. That's what's funny is the Heat have overcome a lot of injuries, but it's with Butler there. They cannot have a hero. They cannot even have a big. Butler is, and it's just like what Paul is for the Suns, but even more so for the Heat because he plays defense where Paul doesn't. He is their backbone defensively, and he is a lot of the time their impetus offensively. So without Butler, it's hard for me to gauge what they are. And they played against the elites really well. That's the one thing for this Heat when people have given them crap is, but you're not like you're talking about all these other teams. They've beaten these teams. Like they're really good.
They creamed Phoenix on the road by 20.
Yeah. So, and that was without guys.
That
was without guys. So look, they played a lot lately, and there's been a lot of emotion getting Lowry back and getting Oladipo. So I throw that game out last night. To me, it's not who's the best team. It's who are the best teams, because to me, it's the Suns, the Warriors.
The Warriors have been in an abysmal slump. The Warriors have fallen apart at the seams.
I have a weird thing for them. I feel like when they get Draymond Green back, he's a lot like a Paul and a lot like a Butler, where
is he that much of a difference maker? Where I mean, they've lost a ridiculous amount of games, and we're like losers of 9 of 11.
Yeah, no,
recently.
It's like 11-13 or something. But again, Green is that guy that his stats aren't amazing, but he does so much for them. It's a lot like what Chris Bosh, did with the Heat those years ago. I think the West, it comes down to 3 or 4 teams, and I think the East, the Celtics are weird to me because Tatum has taken that step to becoming a true superstar, but the rest of their team is so into me.
Man, what a mixed bag of stuff he does too in the confines of a single game. I mean, he'll be doing alley-oop dunks, grabbing the ball one-handed, shooting threes under pressure. I mean, shooting on the move. Throwing floaters up there, driving inside with twisting moves while posting a guy. I mean, really, as versatile a game as I've seen, and he does it without looking like he's really exerting. It's not like he looks like he's using maniacal energy out there. But wow, I mean, he really has blossomed. That team is on fire. I mean, don't you like a team that's rolling in momentum as they come to the postseason?
You want a team that's hot, and again, they've much like the Heat, they've been a playoff team, that group, for a few years now. I just look at their roster and it's like it doesn't match up with the Sixers or the Bucks or the Heat. To me, the Sixers, Bucks, and Heat, if healthy, are a different level. And then the Celtics are right there. The Bulls are a team I don't know what to do. It's just like the Grizzlies. The Bulls and Grizzlies have played really well, and for some reason it's hard for me to believe in them. And it's not fair to them because they've done their job. I don't know. I look at
the Bulls slumped, recently. So they're
hitting them.
They're kind of moving backwards, at a time where you really want to be at your best. Or I don't know. I mean, the teams just go under wraps once Phoenix actually, with that win last night, clinched a playoff berth. Yeah, first team to clinch a playoff berth in the NBA. Well, with 15 games to go. Yeah. I mean, they haven't had that kind of thing going since they had Barkley, and even going back to Alvin Adams. The Phoenix Suns. As I mentioned, the Van Arsdales were shooting a rock the last time the Suns were a solid entry in the NBA. But, a great job all season long. I mean, they've maintained a level of excellence all year long. They've rarely slumped. They lost a couple of games, I think, the week before this in succession. But, they had reason. Booker was out with health protocols, which what's going on with that, Lubie? Where's COVID-19 in relation to sports at this point? Is it a thing of the past here? Is it Ron DeSantis time? Everybody just go out and party and let's get back to the strip clubs. No restrictions whatsoever. And It seems to be that way, and yet every now and then you'll see like a key player, like a Devin Booker, and oh no, he's got health protocols, which is a nice way. I mean, what is that about the semantics where they just don't want to say a kid's got COVID?
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know. He recovered quickly enough, though, from whatever it was that he had. I don't know. The protocols are such that you may. I mean, don't you have to test positive for it to be knocked out of the lineup in
Yes.
professional sports?
How do you
I
know
would
if
think
you're
so.
doing that? Tracy, look, the NFL's already come out and said they're not testing next year. Like they're doing nothing.
Let me ask you a serious question, though. Where's Dr. Fauci, man?
I
Is
haven't
he
seen him in forever.
I mean, is he fighting in the Ukraine? Where is this guy?
That's a good question.
I mean, it was the face of this whole pandemic. And, if it wasn't the Trumpster at first with the idea, how many people out there, did that work for you? Did you gargle with the Clorox? That was one of my favorite things.
Hydrochloroxyquin or whatever. No.
Just shove a little Flex Seal up your rear end, and that'll cure any problem that you have with diarrhea. Okay, Donnie, thanks, man. Glad that you ventured out there with your medical opinion here and chose the White House press conference to reveal the fact that you might be out of your mind. All right, we're coming back with more. Speaking about out of your mind, March Madness.
Yes.
What kind of madness? I mean, is this your favorite type of madness, Lubie?
Yes.
I mean, you've been driven mad by women. You've been driven mad by your job, your circumstance, your desire to be like the next Bob Costas.
And keep doing this and just make money. That'd be nice.
Steward's inquiries. I mean, things that just drive you mad.
Yes.
But this March Madness, see now, and people, we always talk about it, right? I don't know. Are there office pools anymore now that nobody goes to work?
Oh, yeah. Well, but what's cool about the online world is everything's online. I mean, we're doing it.
Oh, there you go. Right.
Anyways. So,
Right, and with DraftKings and FanDuel, I mean, I would imagine, and all these other gambling entities, which we were discussing with Jason Cole yesterday on our Believe podcast.
Yep.
I mean, it's true. I mean, every other commercial during the Super Bowl at $5 million a pop was for some gambling entity.
Yeah.
Where is the world going? I mean, it's all going in that same direction, and that is people want to send it in, and this is a lot of fun, right? Because the office pool routinely taken down, never by the sports guy. Remember how embarrassing it was to finish last? I stopped participating in the pools.
Always. What do you mean? We were always the worst, and they would always. Oh, yeah. Isn't this your job? I'm like, not really. It's my job to talk about it, but I'm not I'm not like. And
it was probably our weakest area. I mean, you watched at that time a little more college basketball than I did, but and I see enough of it to have like a vague idea, like a peripheral idea about what's going on. But I can't say I'm any expert on it. That's for sure. But I will look for a team. I got to figure out what team this guy kisses on. I want to say it's Bryant, the team that beat Wagner. But it's one of the other schmanky teams that's in the NCAA tournament. Look up a guy named Kiss, Kiss. It led the nation in scoring this year, at least from my understanding. And he might be enough to carry a team. What's that?
Peter Kiss?
Peter Kiss. Who's he play for? Peter Kiss.
His jersey is Bryant. He looks like a madman.
Bryant. Okay. Yeah. No, he's great, this kid, man. What did he average? Did he average 30 a game?
He's top scorer, and he looks like a guy of Joe and Hardy, sort of a shooter, chucker.
And he's cool, too. I mean, he knows he's got it, right? Now, when he has to step it up and go against the big boys, as will be the case, when they get to round one of the tournament, Bryant, is this guy going to, wither away? And, the glass slipper theory there quickly turns into a pumpkin with this guy. And the Cinderella story for you, Defo, is over.
I know, but this seems like a guy after your own heart. And this seems like a guy that if they can somehow win a game, he's going to steal the show of the freaking tournament. This guy.
Oh, no. This guy's an exciting player to watch. Yeah.
No, but he's like very obnoxious and like a JJ Redick arrogant kind of a thing. Like
he makes a gesture of some sort after virtually every basket. And most of the baskets that he makes are done in very emphatic, if not spectacular fashion.
Yeah, I mean,
right. Like he'll go in there and dunk, and the ball will come down and hit the defender's head. And as he is like laying on his back on the floor, this guy will like shimmy over him like he was Steph Curry just making a three. He's that kind of character. Peter Kiss, Bryant. I told you I had that right, Lubie. You thought I was just making this up, but I was researching this thing.
I'm like, Kiss. What?
You always found this to be true, that I was surprisingly more well-informed, even though the memory is foggy. But then you had anticipated on things that you figured that I had no knowledge of whatsoever.
You're
Correct?
good at pulling shit out of your ass. Yes, that's the way I would put that. Yes, it's pretty.
That is my man to watch in the NCAA tournament. Peter
Yes.
Kiss
Okay.
quietly led the nation in scoring, and you had never heard of him.
Never.
And neither had I. I mean, I can't say that I was a big Peter Kiss advocate until I saw the game that they had in this game that ended in the brawl. Right? It was
Yes.
Wagner
Yep.
and Bryant.
Yeah.
But while that was happening, and this Peter Kiss and some of his antics might have inspired the brawl. It's possible, right? Because he was doing a lot of showmanship, type of stuff after every basket that he made. And Wagner was getting clobbered. And then I guess, who started the fight in the stands? Was it a Wagner guy or a Bryant guy?
Well, ask Blake. I mean, coming up, Blake's Mr. College Basketball, so if anyone would know.
Well, and he's also a wrestling announcer, so he
Yes.
would be able to understand the nature of what ignites a brawl.
It's actually your dream. He's a ring announcer. He does play-by-play. He's an analyst. He literally
Yes.
runs the gambit when it comes to sports, and especially wrestling and MMA.
You have to be versatile in this racket, Mike Lubitz. That's for sure. So there's my. I don't know that Bryant wins a game, but this guy Peter Kiss, if they do win a game, you're absolutely right. He will be the darling of the first weekend
But it
of
feels
the NCAA tournament, because you would have to think that if Bryant can upset somebody, some monster that they're going to face in the first round. I mean, they literally are Russell Crowe coming out of the chute there in the Gladiator movie, right? Where the weenie teams, they get in, and then here comes a spiked steel ball right in your face. And the Dukies, they're 501-1 in situations like this there, where they're taking on a team from a conference that's not one of the Power Five in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. You can hear the announcers going crazy right now. Do we get an overdose of Jay Billis, though? CBS has all the games, correct?
Yeah, but that's one time a year where they allow the crossover, so you'll hear Billis on CBS games, which is fucking annoying. It's like, at least we'll finally get rid of Billis. Oh, there's Jay Billis. It's like, oh, yay.
Yeah.
Woo.
No doubt he'll be assigned to that Duke opener, whoever they take on in the first round. I'm thinking they lose again in North Carolina ACC tournament final. No? And that would have been great. All right, and they're underway, I believe, shortly at the TPC. In fact, they're already underway, because there was a pretty illustrious trio going off at like 7:30 in the morning there. So I'm hoping to catch some of the early rounds here on the tube. And I have Brooks Koepka as one of my guys. Brooks Koepka. And then I took like all of the guys who have won recently, that I was able to snare from the various lists here. But we'll keep you posted on that activity. I think Kangemi is going to become an addict after this. I really believe this. John Kangemi, who, is such a decent guy. You hate to, have him develop some kind of, would you consider it a character flaw if all of a sudden he becomes a sick, degenerate gambler?
I would.
We applaud it.
We have a little bit of onus on us for that if magically after this, but I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
I don't see it happening, man. This is a guy that has a lot of self-discipline, self-control. He had to, right? Following in the footsteps of Dan Marino at Pittsburgh, you couldn't go in there and, put on a pair of clown shoes and just start screwing up. So, he has that discipline and the ability to control whatever activity it is, that could be detrimental to his overall ability to enjoy a good life. But this is going to enhance. I guarantee you that if he's alive in the third round, Kangemi will be riveted to the television set. He might be anyway, because he's a big golf fan.
Well, he'll be watching anyways.
It's the most fascinating thing you could do, betting golf. It really is. It's kind of crazy. All right, coming back with Blake Chadwick. Speaking of betting, things that you know nothing about, where we're going to try and get some kind of information and input into the NCAA tournament, because the cleaning lady always wins. Always wins the office pool. All right, coming back with some NCAA talk. The Heat go down last night, a ball of flames. Phoenix Suns exerting their superiority and getting revenge. Spoelstra was all about the revenge factor. Yeah, they avenged the loss of 20 points. They came in here, and he just handled us like there was no tomorrow. I give it to Spoelstra, too. He didn't pull a Coach K. This is unacceptable. No. Little worm. He just got up there like a man and said, you know what? They outplayed us tonight. And thank you very much. Anybody wants to make a contribution to various charities, they're all available here via heat.com. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
Time!
8:39. Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
Hear me! I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence! In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside so we can check. Furthermore, all children under 16 years old are now 16 years old.
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket?
Power has driven him mad.
Welcome back to The Defo Show.
Bringing you back to a little piece of American history, as we'd like to feature those clips from the Trump inauguration speech. And it wasn't that long ago that that was all happening. And now people trying to pin everything on poor Joe Biden there, right? I mean, the guy's going to have a heart attack under the mounting pressure and stress that he must be experiencing as, everybody's psycho. And the world has gone mad. And it's very sad. I have to say, this picture of the young lady that was a tech operator and her family, the two children that were just, supposed to be exiting under a ceasefire, and they get blown to bits. And that picture was on the cover of the New York Times. And it reminds me very much of the picture, which was kind of the signature thing about the war in Vietnam, where the Vietnamese guy was being executed right there in the streets, while he was on his knees. The guy just puts a gun to his head, blows his brains out. And they had that picture. It was a famous war picture. But this one very much epitomizing the just atrocious activity that's going on in the Ukraine. So our sympathy is very much with these people. And wow, they couldn't come across as, you almost want to move to the Ukraine yourself and help them out. And, a lot of people are doing that. So very brave people fighting a bold fight against just a hideous, monstrous act that, has no justification whatsoever, at least as far as we can see. All right, we're going to try and decipher and deduce what we can about some other battles that are going to take place. And this is in the toy department where we like to be, and that's the NCAA tournament. And joining us right now, one of our favorites, man, and I love a self-made guy in this business, right? I mean, it's not like he signed right away with some big shot agent and, went right to the top, or his father was, a famous announcer. This is a guy who, once we clear out that hideous sound effect, what did we go to, a pig farm there for a second? It was like we were all of a sudden slaughtering some, hogs. But anyway, and hopefully we'll get a nice clear sound with Blake Chadwick, who joins us here, who wears many hats. And we can say we knew this guy when, Lubie, right?
Yes.
Right? He was, saying, what am I going to do? I don't know. And now he's a play-by-play announcer for top wrestling organizations all around the world. He's also a ring announcer of great acclaim, right up there with Gino Gianniatti, Jimmy Lennon, and all of the greats. And also an intense college basketball analyst and aficionado. So we welcome Blake Chadwick to the program. Blake, how are you, my friend?
How you doing, gentlemen? And every time I'm in the company of Jimmy Lennon, I certainly am off to a good start to the day. I have to say, though, maybe we can save it for next week. I was kind of expecting the sweet sounds of John Tesh and Roundball Rock.
I don't have the
All right,
NBA.
we have to figure some things out, but let's start with the theory that we just came up with, which has Lubie stunned that I would even mention this kid. But can Peter Kiss carry Bryant to an upset victory against whatever monster they have to face in the first round of the tournament? And what do you think of this kid, Peter Kiss? And did he inspire that brawl? You being a wrestling announcer, very familiar with brawls that kind of get ignited out of nowhere. I mean, do you think his antics on the court, where he was, gesturing and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, might have inspired that brawl in the stands between Wagner and Bryant when they qualified for the NCAA tournament?
I certainly think in the day of internet trolls, he certainly could have sparked a little bit of controversy there. It was certainly a Pier 6 brawl there, Defo. I mean, Katie barred the door. We got a Pier 6er there in the finals of the tournament. But I'll tell you what, I mean, I think they have the ability to have somewhat of an impressive showing in the NCAA tournament. I think a win is a little bit of an outside shot. But to me, as a broadcaster, looking at Bill Raftery potentially in that first round, dropping with a little kiss. I mean, that's to me.
Great, yeah.
What do you think of this guy? He led the nation in scoring. I never heard of him before. I didn't even know Brian had a basketball team. And, here they are. I happened to tune in some of that game because I enjoy the play-in games where, the conference has only one shot to go. And, you see what it means to these guys, and it's real grassroots type of stuff. And, maybe these aren't the best players in the world, but every now and then you'll see guys on these teams that are like Peter Kiss that I didn't know. I mean, how many people were aware he led the nation in scoring, in your opinion, Blake Chadwick?
I don't think many people were aware that Peter Kiss led the nation in scoring. And I think when you look at these smaller conferences, these smaller teams, you're looking at kind of the best example of the former college basketball that we once knew, where guys play 4 years, they go all the way to senior night, and they end up leading their team. And a lot of them don't end up going pro. But I think Peter Kiss is one of those guys, a little bit of a throwback. You're not seeing him leave early. You're not seeing him a one and done kind of situation. So I think in a way, it's a little bit of a nice glimpse into there. And I guess if you want to talk from the Defo side of things, that's got to be considered a professor special there. That's a young Ken.
Yes.
Yes.
I think so also. Yeah, I would imagine a professor be. Well, I've been trying to spot the team. The reason, I enjoy watching these kind of tournaments where, it's all on the table there where, and a lot of these games in the finals of these various conference tournaments have been very close. I mean, nail biters coming down to the wire. And, even ending in extremely exciting fashion. I guess it was Wright State that, came back and, they answered what looked like a game-winning three with a few seconds to go where a guy swishes a shot, and then they held on to qualify for the NCAA tournament. So I love that sort of stuff. But, I'm trying to find a team that, could be a factor. I'm not sure that Bryant is necessarily that. And then Rick Pitino gets knocked out of his conference tournament in the quarterfinals by Ryder. That was my upset special. I was going to ride Iona into the third round of the tournament, figuring they were going to make the Sweet 16.
Defo, I was right there with you. I looked at the Gales as a team finally ready to get over that hump, looking like a prime 12 or 13 seed, going to come in there and knock off one of these 4 or 5s that are kind of sliding in the wrong direction. They had the coaching. You saw what they did back in November in the Bahamas. They're obviously capable of pulling off upsets. But again, this is a team that derailed in the quarterfinals of the conference tournament. They're going home early. So in a way, that might kind of open up the door for another team to pop up as a Cinderella.
I'm talking with Blake Chadwick, announcer extraordinaire. Again, like Defo said, he's not only a ring announcer, play-by-play guy, but he's an analyst. And every single year when we want to talk college basketball, we go to Blake. And usually we have him on next week, but Defo's been so chomping at the bit that I wanted to get him to talk a little bit about the conference tournaments. And again, it's hard to talk about. Everyone wants to talk about who's going to win, but until you see brackets and matchups, it's really hard to talk about that. What are you looking at for the conference tournament standpoint? Like, so far, we, as Defo's called them, the weenie tournaments have gotten underway, and the Power Fives have started yesterday and the day before. But what are you looking for the conference tournaments, and how much weight as a professional bracketeur, how much do you put into the conference tournaments?
And not to sound cliche here, but I put a little bit more stock into the conference tournaments, especially with the big boys this year than we have in previous years. Okay. And I think that's just due to lack of strength at the top. I mean, you look at the ACC right here. How often are we going to the ACC tournament with only maybe 2 or 3 locks?
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at teams like Notre Dame, Wake Forest, even the University of Miami, right on the outside, potentially looking in. I believe all three of those teams are tournament capable. North Carolina hadn't beaten a tournament caliber team all season long until they, spoiled Coach K's party last Saturday night in Cameron Indoor. So you're looking at maybe 5 teams coming out of the ACC, but there's a lot of jockeying for position that can be done. We talked about Wake Forest potentially being a play-in game kind of team, but if they win a couple of games in the ACC tournament, they might find themselves on that 8 or 9 line. So I think there's a lot of work to be done from the big boys in the conference tournaments, where normally it's the little guys trying to break through, where this year some of the bigger teams looking to maybe make a little bit of a name for themselves. And you talked about teams maybe falling by the wayside and opening up a door for teams. Last night, the Xavier Musketeers sliding the wrong direction, losing to the Butler Bulldogs. Butler's a team not having a very good season, but Xavier now coming off of another loss in the Big East Conference tournament. Now they're squarely on the bubble, and I think the Musketeers, if some of these other teams start winning ball games, now on the outside looking in. So you see midweek of conference tournament week, already a shakeup potentially on the bubble.
I love this kid, man. Blake Chadwick with us here, a tremendous basketball enthusiast on the college level. And, of course, anybody that doubles as a wrestling play-by-play announcer, you have to have just unwavering respect for. And the ring announcing thing, that's pretty cool. You know me. I love stadium announcers and ring announcers, Blake. So, to do that, you have to kind of develop your own style. Are you in the screaming style of, say, Michael Buffer's brother, who does the UFC stuff, or Bruce Buffer, yeah, or do you go with the distinctive style of like a Jimmy Lennon Jr., who is very much a replica and a reasonable facsimile of his father, who I thought was right up there with the greatest, and of course my all-time favorite, genial Johnny Addy.
Certainly some of the greatest of all time. Obviously, Jimmy Lennon Jr., Jimmy Lennon Sr., certainly, right up there on the Mount Rushmore, if you will, of ring announcers. I try to mix it up depending on what I'm doing. If I'm boxing, I try to take it a little bit lighter, a little bit more of a formal approach, like the aforementioned Jimmy Lennon Jr. When it's MMA, turn it up a little bit. Obviously, these guys, not that in boxing you're not ready to go to war, but in MMA, obviously, a couple of different added disciplines in there where you can do a little bit more damage potentially. So these guys are really chomping at the bit. They're ready to break loose. So if I can get them hyped up for that situation, I'm going to do it to the maximum. To me, boxing, kickboxing, that kind of thing, again, tone down a little bit. And professional wrestling, somewhat of a hybrid of the two. Again, I don't want to be the featured guy in there as the ring announcer, but I also want to be able to put my own little spin on things. So it's a little bit of a tight rope to walk, as of course you've done in the past. But, I try to make it my own style depending on what I'm doing.
Interesting. Well thought out approach, Lubie. I would just grab the microphone and start talking. You know what's great about Jimmy Lennon Sr.? And I used to catch him because I went every Tuesday night or every Thursday night to the boxing at the Olympic Auditorium. And, of course, Jimmy Lennon Sr. was the distinguished ring announcer there. But also he was great on doing wrestling as a ring announcer because they had pro wrestling on a somewhat regular basis at the Olympic. And I would go down and catch that on occasion. And he was just as adept at doing pro wrestling as he was just legendary and Hall of Fame stature in professional boxing. All right, let's get back to the tournament here because I want to bet all of my money and all of Lubie's money, however small a portion of the overall wager that will be, that Gonzaga will not win the national championship, that Mark Few will be denied again. What do you think about that, Blake Chadwick?
It's pretty ironic that in a year where we're talking about a lot of inconsistency, the big boys unable to finish off their opponents, sliding up and down the rankings. Look at a couple of weeks ago. What did we have? Almost the entire top 10 losing one single day.
Yes.
The Gonzaga Bulldogs, outside of that early loss to Duke, of course, they had a hiccup a couple of weeks ago against St. Mary's. But this team, to me, is the most complete team in the nation. They go about 7 or 8 deep. They've got a nice mix of upperclassmen and, of course, the studs, guys like Nolan Hickman off the bench. And, of course, Chet Holmgren, potential #1 draft pick, a 7-footer, a guy can do it all. And, of course, Drew Timme, a guy who's been there before, anchoring this team. To me, they have what it takes to really get the job done. You mentioned Mark Few. He's a coach who's now been there before, so he does have some experience at the highest level. To me, it's tough not to ride Gonzaga. Again, you look at some teams like Kentucky that I favor. Of course, Duke with their own storyline, Coach K on the way out. There's some other teams in the mix there. Kansas for a while this year, I thought potentially could be on the doorstep of really breaking through. But to me, I've kind of backed off a little bit over the last week or two due to some inconsistencies. Baylor, a team, obviously, with their run last year. a lot of those pieces back, have some nice new pieces in the puzzle. That's, to me, a team that could really do some damage. There are certainly some contenders out there, but to me, Gonzaga, at this point, a couple of days before Selection Sunday, to me, have shown they have what it takes to get the job done.
All right, so you disagree completely with my theory. I figure I'm going to not only lose my money, but Lubie's too. Blake Chadwick with us here on the Defo Show. And a couple of interesting things, from your conversation, especially about Gonzaga, because I'm looking at Timmy, and he reminds me of a guy that would be averaging 16 a game at the David Posnack Jewish Center in some 30 and over league. Doesn't really look the type of a guy that's going to spark a team. I know he plays with great intensity and is very versatile, but and obviously a huge catalyst to any success they have. And I'm watching Holmgren. And, he looked like Mel Counts to me, the old 7-footer from the Boston Celtics, who was a bit, let's say, lacking in fluidity in his movements. I don't know. Is Holmgren really the guy that's going to be the number one overall pick in the NBA and stand up to, that level of expectation?
Again, around 20 years old, very raw, but has the ability to disrupt the players in the painted area with his defense. He can step out and shoot the three. I mean, to me, he's a modern-day NBA big. And if he could put a little bit of size on, they can develop him a little bit. He's that prime prospect. I mean, personally, you look at a guy like Jabari Smith at Auburn, a little bit more game-ready, can come in, make a little bit of a bigger impact more immediately. So it kind of depends on the fit, depends on the need, who's going to be available there with that number one draft pick. But right now, I mean, I'd say Holmgren's certainly very much in the conversation for that pick. And again, what you talked about Drew Timme. I mean, Drew Timme, to me, in a way, kind of like a modern, big, smooth Sam Perkins there. I mean, he's the kind of guy, doesn't leave his feet really, just pops threes from 25 feet out. And he's that college basketball star that we've seen many times over the years. Comes in, has a huge impact at the college level, to be determined on the next level, but he could be the difference maker of Gonzaga walking home with the national championship.
All right, I was going to put some money down getting into the ACC tournament. I was going to bet North Carolina on a recommendation of some guy that I read on some gambling, I guess it was an excerpt in a New York Post. And I should never follow this because I'm always talking about how dead wrong these guys are that do this handicapping for a living. And they write very eloquently and have these brilliant dissertations about why you should play a certain team. And then the team goes down in flames. Like I believe somebody was trying to make a case for Florida State yesterday.
Yeah, there you go.
Against Syracuse, and they were getting like 1.5, which they only needed 40 more, and they might have been in the hunt there. But I mean, as you look at the handicapping for the tournament, and you're seeing Duke among the favorites. And I want to get back to this because I don't know. Did you think, Blake Chadwick, that it was a disgrace when Coach K, before this big ceremony he was going to have? Okay, so they lost to North Carolina, who, as I said, I was going to bet to win the ACC tournament. Can't they get to the finals, A, there? And then B, was it a disgrace when Coach K grabbed the microphone before the ceremony began and said, "We're never going to lose again"? I mean, I thought I was watching Tim Tebow crying at the post-game press conference that, "Oh my God, we'll never lose again, and I'll never play any harder." I mean, please, what was that? I mean, it seemed very undistinguished for a man that was about to be honored, to the level that he was, and most people would say deservedly so, to cheapen the moment by screaming about the fact that he lost a game to North Carolina.
I think that's the closest example you'll see of a guy about to retire and taking his ball and going home. He was pretty much crying right there in front of the entire world. Coach K was downright embarrassed, and he was downright pissed that his team in the top 10 all year, looking to make that historic moment, just put a cherry on top of his entire career, knocking off a huge chief rival for the second time this season in Cameron Indoor, to just put a bow on everything, leading into the NCAA tournament, of course, the ACC tournament this week as well. But I think Coach K just, tail between his legs situation. And then, you saw Chris Terrawell in the handshake line, snub Hubert Davis, adding a little bit more fire there. I think you're in a situation now where the UNC Duke rivalry has always been present, but now it's been turned up another notch once again. And as you said, Defo, I mean, we'll see what happens in the ACC tournament. It would be great if these two teams can match up again somewhere along the line.
Well, what do you think? Could North Carolina roll through at least into the finals, whether they meet Duke or not? And most people would assume that would be the case. Can they roll into that situation, or would they even indeed meet in the finals? I haven't really looked at the whole bracket yet. I'm just putting that out there as a situation, thinking that North Carolina has a chance to make the final game, and if they did it 10-1, they're not a bad proposition to win that ACC tournament.
Listen, if R.J. Davis and Caleb Love can play like they did against Duke on Saturday, and you throw in Armando Baycoat, an absolute monster in the painted area, if those guys can play together, they can start, developing some sort of chemistry, which seems like all year it's been inconsistent. If they can get that going this weekend, you know how the tournament situation goes. It's momentum based, and if you can get win after win, game after game, just keep the job rolling. Not that they're going to go on a UConn 2014-esque run, but I do think we're going to see a situation where North Carolina can enter the NCAA tournament, maybe as like a 7 seed in that 7-10 matchup. We see historically almost every single year a 7 or 10 knock off a 2 in the 32 round. UNC could be that team. I mean, they have what it takes to be able to get by a 10 kind of seed or even a 7 kind of seed, depending where they fall. And the North Carolina Tar Heels could certainly be a very difficult opponent for a Purdue-like team or potentially even a Duke-like team coming up in that 32s.
Yeah, it was like Coach K just spilled some coffee on the wife's wedding dress right before he said I do. I mean, the real ugly blot on his, glorious career and the big send-off that they had. But, yeah, I mean, you would have thought he would have said those things to his team in the locker room and then come out there with a big smile on his face and, just listened and sat back and received all the accolades that were coming his way. But, to grab the mic before it even happened and make that speech, that was kind of crazy. All right, Blake, we love you. We wish you the best of luck. So you are you picking Gonzaga to go all the way if I had to put you on the spot?
I think I'm going to ride the Zags. I mean, I hate to play the chalk, but if I had to go an alternative team besides Gonzaga right now, I would say the Kentucky Wildcats. I like what Calipari's got there. He's got a mix of transfers. He's got some youngsters. He has some veterans. And I think they're the kind of team that, athletically and with their shooting, I think they can put it together. And, of course, with his coaching this year to the consistency, I think the Wildcats might be a team to watch out for.
All right, sounds good. Blake, always a pleasure, my friend. Where are you off to next? Because we always like to track your adventures, and you're doing wrestling and ring announcing and stuff all over the country, all over the world, right?
Hopefully we go worldwide very soon. We've been in 15 states at this point. So, we're working our way around the country, about a third of the way home. And this weekend I will be up in I don't know how many listeners we have up there, but I guess I'll just say the Northeast instead of the armpit of America. I'll say I'm going to be in New Jersey this coming weekend. Wow. So I'll be up there in the Northeast for New Jersey calling some women's MMA action. So it should be pretty interesting to see how that all plays out. I'm doing some commentary for that. And then I'll be back late Saturday night. And then we head on into Sunday. And one of my favorite days of the year, brackets come out and we get to work.
Toto a skating rink? I mean, are they holding that MMA thing where they had the old Bobby Ches fights? What's the location on that? Are you going to be at the Meadowlands? That should be a lot of fun.
I'm going to be in Williamstown, New Jersey. So I guess somewhere maybe about 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, there you go.
All right, not too far from Atlantic City. I'll be there next Thursday for the start of the tournament. And hopefully we have a couple of Blake Chadwick steamballs here, including my man Peter Kiss, who's going to steal the tournament and the hearts of the fans with a big run by Brian into the Sweet 16. All right, thanks, Blake. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for being with us here. Always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll talk to you next week, man. Thanks.
This guy can capsulize like college basketball teams and games. Not too many people that we know, right? I mean, he really gets into it. All right, that was a lot of fun. Tomorrow, a Degenerate Friday, and we'll really explore some serious betting options here for not only the conference tournaments. I would imagine we'll get some picks for the games from both Mark Lawrence and the professor, double teaming you guys with gambling info and input here on the show with the NCAA tournament. Maybe it'll help you fill out your brackets there. I don't know if you're going to be in any kind of a bracket thing.
I haven't watched anything all year. I feel like sort of a phony. To now, all of a sudden.
Yeah. I routinely bomb. I don't know that I've ever cashed one of those NCAA bracket jobs. I mean, you might be able to isolate here and there and get a game. But I'm routinely out of it on the very first day, like a lot of people. And it was always a joke, too, because, then you would have to walk around the office there when there were actually people at radio stations and they employed people and they actually had an open office. And, you'd be walking around and going, I thought you were the sports guy. Rosie, the cleaning lady, is beating you by 30 points.
That's so annoying.
Shut the.
Exactly.
Right? I know my sports. Right? That's what you want to. You want to find. I know my sports. As if that was, some great distinction to have. All right, we're happy you guys acknowledge that, we might have something here on the at least the entertainment front that you enjoy on ION channel, and we'll see you tomorrow with the Dale Volkswagen Degenerate Friday. Mark Lawrence, outstanding handicapper, the professor picking some games. Mike Mayo picking his, way through a bunch of more disgusting food probably on the show, and supposedly the promise of a visual version and the return of the program Degenerate Friday of One Jersey. Moneyline Kyle Martinez. All right.
Okay.
He's got to pick up a big tab tonight, man. I think at some restaurant. That's what he was telling me. I don't want to reveal the details here, just in case she's listening. Right? He's got to worry about that. All right, we'll see you tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. on the East Coast. Thanks for tuning in. Tell your friends about the show. Google the Defo Show. We're all over the place. We have a Believe podcast coming up later on. Good friend of ours, Josh Booty, who also is on the Believe podcast. Well, now just the Believe Network. He does a podcast there about the SEC. That's how we came across him. The first time, thought he was fascinating, and he is our guest today. He was, of course, a standout quarterback at LSU and a professional baseball player with a World Series ring after being the number 5 overall pick of the then Florida Marlins.
Yes.
Prior to them winning the championship, I guess he was drafted in like 94. Chose baseball over college football, went back to college football later on, had a nice career. Played for, Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban.
Yes.
This guy. So he really knows his stuff. He'll be joining us on Believe. And you can also catch us later on, especially, I guess, that focus that we had on the Miami Heat game against Phoenix last night, Lubie, which we fabricated out of nowhere. That'll be on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, Ethan Skolnick's fine organization. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much, people. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. as we leave you know that. It's 9:06.
No, that's not what I want to do. I have to fight.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.